Okay, we are now actually live. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. It's morning here. It's probably evening where you guys are at. Guys, Donnie is not with us today because he had a family emergency. He's got I guess his mom has gone into the hospital. So he is not here today. I will be taking over hosting duties. I have with me today Ryan Stone. I have Anthony Johnson from the 21 convention, as you guys all know. I have Steve the Dean Williams, who was with me last night on Redline, which was a really great show. I think that was one of our better ones. We ripped through like 14 calls on that show. It was awesome. And of course, me, your host, Roland Tomasi, author of The Rational Male. So this was a little bit unexpected for me. There's a lot of things that are kind of going a little bit wonky today in the Manosphere. And I'm sure a lot of people who follow this cast and who follow the Manosphere and read our books and are interested in our lives for whatever reason, there's a lot of weird shit that's going on in the sphere right now. Pat Campbell's father just passed away yesterday. So we will be doing Red Pill 101 tomorrow because Pat wants to stay busy. And I don't know what his schedule will be in the coming week, but if you want to give him some well wishes or whatever, you can just go track him down on Twitter. Donnie's mom is in the hospital. My mom is now she's in physical rehabilitation right now, and she will probably be going into assisted living at some point, which is really weird to me because it means that the house in Lake Tahoe that I used to go to all the time and was my second home is now empty, which is kind of strange to me. And then Sam Bada is in ICU in Orlando right now, and I am contemplating actually taking a trip out there to go see him because I'm not really sure what's going on. Anthony, did you have any update on that? I know Sock went out there to go see him. Did he have anything else to say about Sam?
No, Socrates has been there 3 times now. He's the one keeping me posted on it. So the first I hear from Socrates, I'll let you guys know in the speaker chat.
Okay.
But other than that, I'm not sure.
Okay. Good.
But I know he's in ICU. It's no joke.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with him. I'm sorry, Ryan. I've got you.
It's got a super chat too, oddly enough.
Cool. Okay. What we're going to do today is we're not going to be able to have phones because we don't have Donovan with us today, but we will keep super chats. If you're going to super chat and you're on topic, we'll probably take your super chat a lot quicker, but we will take, we'll do what we always do with everything is we will take your super chats and hold on to them towards the end of the show here, which I'm taking yours right now. So we'll be happy to answer questions today. That'd be all right. Today's show is going to be about the struggle versus potential, and we're going to get into that here in just a minute, and you get a better idea what I'm talking about. I wrote a post about this recently called the struggle versus potential. What is that? Choose wisely. That's what it is. I always try to come up with some really stupidly poetic, prosaic titles for my posts, which are completely anti, SEO approved, but I don't care. That's just the way that I do it. But anyways, we'll be talking about that today. But first, I want to kind of go around the group here, and we'll get into what we're doing. But I want to sort of do a lightning round here with some of the stuff that I see going on in the Manosphere recently, because there's a lot of things that I always want to be able to sort of address, briefly, just so people can get an idea of where we're at on these things. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, and you guys are probably already aware of this, we were talking about this offline, is that Roosh has decided that he no longer wants to have anybody in his forum talking about fornication, or he's gone very religious recently. He's had a religious epiphany and has decided that he no longer wants to encourage or approve of guys coming up with ways in which they can have, I guess, premarital sex. So I wanted to go around really quick. I know maybe some of you have an opinion on this, some of you don't have an opinion on this, but the reason I wanted to bring this up just really quick in the lightning round here, and just give me like a 3-minute elevator speech about what you think about this. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because I see a sort of a leaning to a much more moralistic ideal in the manosphere recently, and this just sort of brings it to a head. And I'll let you guys know what I think afterwards. But Ryan, what's your take on the moral bent right now?
I think it depends on who you ask about. If it's Roosh, like, he's clearly got some stuff he wants to work out, and power to him. I wish him the best. The only problem I have with it is there's a lot of guys that supported Roosh over the years, and I don't think it's good to kind of abandon them like that. Like, there's going to be guys, it's a kicking the ladder out from under you thing. Like, yeah, a lot of guys are going to want to learn pickup from them. And a lot of guys, that's how most people settle down. They date and they fool around a lot until they find they're better able to separate what a good long-term relationship kind of girl versus a non-one would be. And that's the only way you can get it, is by practice. So by kicking the ladder out from under you, I think it does a disservice to his fans. And that's the only problem I have with it. As far as him personally, I hope whatever path he takes, as long as he ends up happy and fulfilled at the end of it, I think that's great. And that's kind of why we're all here. There's another group, though, that it reminds, and this is the thing. So if you guys don't know, I have a background in art history. And
hey man, I got a BFA as well, so you could laugh if you want.
Yeah, artsy fags.
Yeah. So in between the Napoleonic Wars and the World Wars, there was a lot of German existentialism, the Continental Enlightenment. And art is essentially visual philosophy. And so what I'm seeing from a lot of these new type of philosophy God pill types is the same thing that the Dadaists had. And that was guys like Ernst and Dali, who you guys remember as surrealists. Fuck, this is going to be rambly. I hope you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
And what they did is they had an existential crisis that nothing had meaning anymore. Like, the identity of Europe was ripped apart through major wars, a lot of death, a lot of essentially the same kind of zeroing out that you would see today, but on a societal scale. And so their art reflected that as well. And it's the same thing you see with a lot of these horrible memes that are very anti-Semitic and random, very abstract. If you look back in data art, DADA, search the term. If you start seeing Google images, you'll start to notice the same chaos in both the different things there. So they're kind of going through that. It's a very anarchist, like, the system doesn't want me, so I'll buck the system. Rebels without a cause. And what you're seeing now is it goes that same thing where it ends up moving into surrealism. And you'll see the manifesto, the Surrealism Manifeste. It's a French manifesto they had that spawned surrealism, which we think of as melting clocks and that. But it was essentially Marxist communal, saying, well, if we can't win and compete and nothing has any meaning anymore, then we're all just the exact same person. And you're watching this weird philosophical movement that followed exactly what happened in the 18th and 19th centuries in Europe. Now, I know it makes it sound a little more noble than it is, but it's essentially guys getting left behind who don't see a viable roadmap to the future, and they prefer to live in their own heads. And it's a very dangerous thing, especially for the people that egg them on. And so I would say the good thing in that it's coming out is that guys are getting this existentialism out of the way. The bad thing in it is that the people who create content in this space, the guys who are supposed to be, and I hate the term, but calling us thought leaders or gurus or whatever word you want to attach,
luminaries,
whatever we're doing here.
Probably a content creator is the most legitimate
content
one.
creators.
Yeah, whatever you want to describe it as. We're essentially dropping the ball on this one by encouraging these guys. And obviously, like, on this panel and everybody here, we're doing our best to give a better, positive, more socially adept answer. Like, here's a roadmap. You're not getting left behind. Here's things you can do. But there is a few people in this space that are really causing more harm than good. And I really don't know what to do about it other than just be a better example on our side. I guess that's as far as I can go into that.
Go back to work. Anthony, what do you think about that? What do you think about the moral leanings?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting the way you put that. And I've been thinking about that too, that in my opinion, since I found particularly the red pill part of the manosphere a couple of years ago, I do think the Tradcon ideas and that whole direction is like trending lately. I don't think it's going to stick. I think it's kind of a temporary thing, like a fad. Kind of like back in the day, like direct game versus indirect game was this huge debate in the seduction community. It was this thing for a couple of years and then it went away. I think we're seeing that now in the Manosphere, particularly in the red pill space. And I wonder if that's bleeding off from like larger culture. Like I think a lot of guys now are feeling lost in the culture, you know, especially without the Manosphere and anything like that that's more positive and direction oriented. So they're clinging to anything that's like traditional gender roles, traditional forms of marriage 1.0 kind of stuff, old books. That's what I kind of feel talking to people and friends who are not in the Manosphere. And then I'm seeing it in the Manosphere too, so I'm kind of drawing the connection there on that. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. Like I think there's a lot to derive too from Tradcon ideas, particularly what we see in the Manosphere. But there's a reason that stuff failed. So I don't believe that, like you guys, I don't believe that going Tradcon is some solution to save men and women, to save America. It's like, there's a reason that shit failed. There's a reason it's going away. And we should pull the best stuff we can from it and move forward with it. But it's not a fix-all. And I think that's how a lot of guys view it, unfortunately. And I say that too in light of building the recent Patriarch edition of 21Con, right? So I understand why a lot of guys, I mean, that was, I think, an expression of it too, right? But that's what's going on with that. I also wanted to say too that I think there's a lot going on in the Manosphere right now, like you mentioned, Rollo. Like all sorts of drama and this and that, quarantines, people popping off, left and right. I think that's actually a sign that the Manosphere is growing. This kind of stupid drama that comes about from time to time. So it's not the best thing in the world, but I think it is natural as the space grows. And a space like this is going to be complex and interesting. There's personalities that fight left and right and compete. I mean, men fight and compete, right? This is Jack Donovan stuff, old school masculinity. So I'm not too surprised with it. As long as it doesn't remain the norm, as long as it's a minority of what happens on a year-to-year basis, a very small amount, which I think it still is, then I'm not too worried about it. But like Ryan's saying, if that shit keeps growing, like lingering, like that's not good. We need to focus on creating content. I think that's like hugely beneficial and hugely positive, and not just endlessly shit posting.
Yeah. Steve, what do you think about you have new eyes to this? So I mean, I don't know how long you've been familiar with the Manosphere, and I know you gave your first speech at the 21 convention just this last month here. What does this look like to you from your perspective?
Well, what I see, I think about when I think about the Matrix, the movie The Matrix. They always had this person called Agent Smith to make sure that the Matrix stayed the way it was and didn't change. And what I've noticed is that a lot of young men out there want to know how to be men, and they want to know what it takes and things like that. And I always tell people everything that shines isn't gold, and they have to be careful about what I call false prophets. There's so many people out there that want to know and are hungry for information, but they follow these guys that give you quick fixes, magical pills, and you can change right off the bat, and that doesn't work for these young men. And then they're already confused, lost, and angry, and it just adds on to all that. Now, again, I know Roosh a little bit, but I don't know him that. I mean, I know him a little bit, but I don't know him well enough to say anything bad or good about him. I'm just talking about in general what I see out there is a lot of men. They need to learn how to do their homework and kick the tires and learn about, well, is this guy in my best interest? Because anybody that cuts you off for those reasons y'all were saying is something that people need to think about. Again, I'm not here to tell them what to do. I'm just telling them to open their eyes a little bit and stop walking down that pathway with the herd. Sometimes when you go against the grain, like y'all were saying, it's a great and wonderful thing that we have haters. It's great. I think that's what we need, because what we're teaching is an uncomfortable feeling. It's not supposed to feel good, and it goes against the grain of what a lot of these young men think. So they're gonna try to fight back, and then you're gonna have what I call those agents in there that wants to keep everything normal. They want to keep young men from becoming men. They want to keep them held down. So it's a lot of things going on, but I just want to say for those guys that's listening, especially to these men that's on here, these men have your best interest. Because I mean, I'll tell y'all, I don't fuck with fake people. Excuse me, damn it, Rollo.
Don't worry about it. It's never gonna get monetized anyway.
Okay, well, these men here are real. And that's what I'm saying. I fuck with real motherfucking men. And what y'all guys got to do is do what I do. Kick the tires. Spend time with them. Learn these guys, because these men have your best interest. And if anybody tells you that they don't, ask yourself the question of, whoever's saying what they're saying, look at what they're doing. And that should tell you a bigger picture. I didn't mean to go too long, but
That's right.
that's my take, man.
All right, all right. As far as my concerns about this is, my first concern is this like some sort of like genuine epiphany that Roosh is having, or is this another marketing ploy? This was something that, you know, people want to say, well, what was the beef between Rollo and Roosh back in the day? Well, the problem I had with Roosh was that he threw TRP under the bus. He threw the Red Pill sub under the bus, and decided that he wanted to he wanted to do something that was sort of his own closed society. He wanted neo-masculinity was his thing back then. I don't know if that's even still a thing for him, but that was a huge I don't know, some sort of apocalyptic thing that he wanted to institute. Like, it was supposedly his life's work, and we don't hear anything about that anymore. So all I can say is this is just more spaghetti being thrown at the wall until something proves to me that it's not. I hope it is. I mean, I know he's turning 40 right now, and I know he's got a lot of introspection that he needs to do, and maybe this is part of that. I don't know that it is healthy for the manosphere in general, but because, like you were saying before, you know, guys are looking to his work or his past and prior work as some sort of manual for how they can live a better life when it comes to intersexual dynamics, and now all of that goes away, as far as I know. Tucker Max did something very similar to this. He had his sort of purple pill epiphany, and I'm not saying that that's what Roosh is doing right now, but it follows along what I call is the script. And the script is this, is that men will be these incorrigible bachelors. I mean, this is an old narrative, I should say. This is like something that's, you can go back to Shakespeare and find this in some of his plays. Like, you have this incorrigible bachelor who only the power of love can change his heart so that he becomes more civilized. So it's like that Beauty and the Beast kind of thing, where you got this guy who's just this raw energy, this raw masculinity, this raw, like, I want to go out and you know, fuck anything that moves kind of thing. And then suddenly there's some sort of neutralizing power, and usually that's a woman that comes in and changes his heart, and suddenly he becomes, you know, he becomes civilized, right? He becomes domesticated. He becomes not that primal energy anymore, and he becomes the, you know, the thinker, and this maturity kind of thing. And what the script is it's when guys follow this script where they go from being that guy who's the incorrigible bachelor to being the guy who decides that love saved him, right? Or that love or the power of some woman tamed him. And so therefore he's made into a new thing. And so he wants to put all of his past behind him and move on into the future. And if you're thinking that this in some way is a parallel to the epiphany phase, you're not too far off. That is, it's convenient. Yes. Most of the time it's very convenient. Can it be a part of a branding management thing? Yeah, of course it can. But it's something that is almost predictable right now for guys who have to sort of, you know, want to step back and think that they're above all of the stuff that they spent the last 20 years, you know, coming to terms with, I guess. So does that disqualify? Does that, you know, neutralize the, you know, the energy that the guy had prior? I don't think so. But I think that it's a mistake to think of, I think, forget what I put it in. I've got a post called Moral to the Manosphere, and I think it was, you know, living like virtuously and living non-virtuously are both energies. Okay, so you can be, you know, no guy has ever virtued a girl into bed. So let's just be careful. Let's just be careful with this right now. And I wanted to just say that I wish him the best. I hope whatever he's doing, you know, works out for him. But it seems to me like he's stepping away from all of this, and I hope it's not just sort of a fad or just the next neo-masculinity thing that he's doing. Maybe it's genuine, maybe it's not. Only time will tell. I think what's interesting right now, though, is a lot of Tradcons who used to call him a rape apologist are now embracing him with open arms.
Yep.
And they want to make him one of their own. And I don't know if that's sort of a strategic plan or if it's something that, you know, he was hoping was going to happen for him. I will say this, is that a lot of the people who wanted to just run him up the flagpole now are suddenly saying, well, you know, maybe this is the next progression. Maybe this is all for the best. And we've had this conversation before, but, you know, between virtue and, you know, what objectivism and subjective virtue is. Virtuism, that's a kind of a nice word for it. So anyways, I'm just going to leave that there. If people want to ask questions about that later, that's fine too.
I wanted to hop in quick and kind of co-sign what you just said. I've actually met Roosh and had a good probably 20-30 minute conversation with him, which isn't a huge amount, but through that I was able to make a first impression. And I'm skeptical that this is a totally genuine move for him. I doubt it's completely bullshit. I think it's kind of a mixture. And I think a lot of men in the manosphere, they don't want to look to content creators and leaders and develop a nuanced, complex view of his motivations and what he's doing. I think that's what you're digging at, is that this might be bullshit, or at least partly bullshit. He's throwing spaghetti at the wall, and he has a long history of playing games at a high level like this, right? Dr. Oz stuff, the neo-masculinity, blowing up in the red pill. I mean, when he blew up in the red pill, what did that do? Well, it let him build like a new brand thing he tried out, right? His own self-branded red pill, neo-masculinity. He's trying to, I think, use that as a marketing tool to make a lot of money. I've seen that done in other industries successfully. He failed at it. But what did he do in doing that, right? When he blew up, he got a lot of mind share. He got a lot of attention from the manosphere. And I think that's what he's doing now. The mainstream is biting this. These reporters said BuzzFeed and shit.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's piling on. Yeah. Even the mainstream media is piling on.
Sinker. Yeah. And so they're getting played like suckers the same way Trump plays them. These people are fucking dumb. What I'm disappointed with is I think his follower base owes themselves, like Ryan was kind of getting at earlier or discussing this issue, they owe themselves a little more skepticism when someone like this, a content creator with this many followers and this much legacy, makes a move like this, or multiple moves at this point, right? He took the God pill thing, and now he's disallowing fornication and vulgar talk. Even cursing, I think, isn't allowed on his forum anymore, if I understood that correctly. Don't quote me on that. Take a look at it. But yeah, it's a lot of screwy behavior. It's happening very rapidly. I said on Twitter recently, I tweeted that there's 0% chance Roosh remains Christian for the rest of his life, barring he gets hit by a bus tomorrow or some shit like that. I really doubt if he lives another 40 years, he's going to be Christian for the next 40 years. And all these Tradcons, like you're saying, they used to call him a rape apologist. Now they're like openly embracing him. I think they're just desperate for people to convert over to Christianity, because Christianity is losing followers.
It affirms their belief set is what it does.
Yeah. And it's not good. Like I think he's playing the field with it, to be honest. There's probably some genuine shit to it too, like a male epiphany phase. Like I don't doubt that, especially given the life he's lived. But yeah, I think people need a lot more skepticism with this stuff. I think Roosh is playing games, at least partly playing games. And any Christian Tradcon who legitimately believes that, belief set, fine, you do you, but don't come crying to me when Roosh blows up and starts doing all kinds of quirky shit again 8 months from now, because I think that's what's going to happen.
He's very wrapped up in Michael Jones right now. He did an interview with him, and I see him really leaning that way right now, and that might have had something to do with this. I can't say for sure. I
mean, what they need to realize is Roosh is a writer. For all these Christian Tradcons know, he could just be infiltrating their space to write another book like Lady Part 2 or some variation of like Tradcon game, right? Or something, right? He'll just write a fucking book a year from now and then sell a bunch of copies to all these people who just buy this shit hook, line, and sinker. They need to be a lot more skeptical, especially when people are doing stuff like this in public. This guy's having public meltdowns, doing shrooms, and taking the God pill. Like, come on. So that's all I got to say on that.
All right. Yeah, that was a lightning round, wasn't it? One other story that I just saw on Twitter. I was actually last night. I thought this was interesting. There's a new study out here. I'm just going to read this really quick. It says women are less likely to want to use a condom during sex the more attractive they thought a guy was. So it's like the researchers who published their findings in PLOS 1 on Thursday were trying to figure out if male strangers' attractiveness affected a woman's inclination to use a condom. They also found that a man's perceived likelihood of having a sexually transmitted infection didn't affect a woman's willingness to have sex with him or how attractive she thought he was. They also confirmed what most people likely thought. The more attractive a guy was, the more likely a woman would want to have sex with him, obviously. Researchers collected the data on 480 participants' responses to an online questionnaire back in the spring of 2017. So people are just going to, well, I think what people will do with this study is they will just say, oh, well, it's faulty, studying. But I think it's interesting because this is almost, I don't want to say this is like scientific confirmation, but it's at least some sort of confirmation of everything I've said about how abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy, because women will be glad to not have unprotected sex as long as the guy is that they think is hot. They'll have unprotected sex with that guy. But if the guy is not hot, I think what the next question they need to ask is, if the guy is less attractive, would they want him to use a condom? So I wanted to get you just really quickly, just go around here, Ryan. What do you think of this study?
I think it makes sense. It's something I was talking about earlier when you bring up an IUD. So you know how every birth control method has its own pros and cons. There's always some medical percentage of people that are going to have issues with it. And I find an IUD is the only one that girls will all of a sudden start going to bat for, that 3% outlier who has a copper allergy or talks about the dangers of it. And it's a theory that I can't prove and don't really care to, but it makes sense when you think about this. The reason that girls prefer a birth control pill is because it gives them the control that they can have an oopsie if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's same thing with the condoms, the hot guy thing. Like, it kind of makes sense. Can't prove it, don't want to. An IUD makes it permanent. It's like you said, keep control of the birth control.
Mm-hmm.
So even though an IUD has a 97% chance of being perfectly harmless, as long as, and the only problems with it are if you have a doctor in a third world country who's not sterile, or a copper allergy, which is 3.8% of the population that they tested.
Yep.
Birth control pill has worse rates than that for tons of health effects. But girls will argue against the IUD hand over fist. But girls in relationships don't seem to mind it so much. So it's almost as if it's a control thing. And it may not even be, it's obviously not purposeful. It's just the way we're hardwired. Same as guys we like eating steak because, we like protein. We're just hardwired for it. And I think that's it. And I think that's why you're going to get a lot of pushback from women, because they don't want to believe it. Because then it makes us sound like we have no free will and that there actually is hardwired desires in us, especially on something so important. That's my thought on it anyway. But hoes love birth control pills way more than cable LTRs.
I completely co-sign with from my personal experience in life with women. He's 100% right with the control mechanisms. They always revert to things that are subjective and very personal in their head, that you can't, if they're making up how an IUD feels in them, like a coat hanger or some shit they'll bitch about, or they have some sort of copper response to it. It's bullshit. They want that control and they're willing to lie about it constantly.
What do you think, Steve? What do you think about? Have you ever had a girl say, "I don't want you to wear the condom, Steve"?
Oh yeah, all the time. To me, it just goes back to nature, man. Women want to be with what they consider the top man. They want to breed with what they consider is the best of the best. So it doesn't matter how you look, but I always tell guys, this is why you gotta wrap up. I don't give a fuck if you're dating her or living with her. Do not have unprotected sex with these women. But yeah, I just want to fat lightning round. But no, my whole thing at the end of the day is it's nature, guys. And they will want to sleep with what they feel like is a top man. If you're the top man, they want to take the condom off, poke holes in it, or they'll miss a pill to try to have your baby.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is interesting to me, because when we talk about the differences, or how women see the differences in men, we always talk about how women make rules for beta men and they break rules for alpha men. And this is sort of confirmation of that principle right there. Is they're happy to, I should say, they're less interested, or about the consequences of their actions with a guy who is a confirmed alpha, that is hot, is attractive, that it looks like she would be having validational sex with this guy, as opposed to a guy who maybe she doesn't want to have his kid. Right. So if you've got a guy who's more alpha, or who's more attract, let's just say he's higher on the SMV scale. I don't want to say alpha or beta or whatever, because that's a qualitative difference. Everybody wants to talk about what's alpha, what's beta. Let's just say a guy who is above her own level on sexual market value, and she sees him as a prime breeding opportunity. She is less interested in worrying about whether or not she's going to get pregnant by that guy, and she's more interested in the sexual experience with that guy. There's a reason for that. There's an evolved reason that she's doing that. It's exactly the same reason why I say that abortion is the ultimate expression of hypergamy. So when the reason that women fight tooth and nail to keep abortion safe and legal is because they want an insurance policy. They want a fail-safe against making bad reproductive decisions. And sometimes they make those decisions because of things exactly like this. They are less likely, less inclined to be concerned with pregnancy, less inclined to be concerned about sexually transmitted diseases. Apparently, I'm not sure that I'm not even sure that even those thoughts enter into this process right here. That it's just, that looks like a good reproductive opportunity with this guy. So I'm not going to worry whether or not, in fact, women will encourage you not to wear a condom because they want to feel you. I want to feel you. It's not natural, right? Just like what Ryan was just saying here. It's like it detracts from the sexual experience. Well, what that says to me is that her focus is more on the sexual experience and not so much on the consequences or what could happen possibly after that, because it's all about babies. Okay. Yeah. Here's a news flash for everybody. Hypergamy is all about babies. Okay. It's how can I have this guy's kids? And what I think is interesting is, and that's why I said I wanted to know if there could be a study about, and I don't even know if you could actually work something out like this, but are women more prone to insisting that a guy use birth control or like use a condom, whatever, if the dude she perceives as lower on the SMV scale, meaning she doesn't want to have his kids, but her hindbrain does want to have kids with the alpha guy. And I would say that I'm going to guess here and say that that's probably the case in this whole thing. And I wanted to bring that up in this quick little lightning round here, because I think that this will end up being a really hot button topic, I think, in the coming week, because this kind of came at the end of the news cycle, but maybe in the coming week, we'll discuss this a little bit more. But all this says to me is that it's one more indication as to how women will go for alpha fucks or beta bucks. And this is one more element of that. So that's one thing I want to just jump into. We're at 45 minutes right now. So I wanted to get into the topic proper here today. We were going to talk about potential versus the struggle. And I wanted to just shift gears over a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just read you the first part of this right now. This is something that Rich Cooper came up with a while back, and he's got this kind of maxim that goes something like this. Okay, it says, "Women don't care about the struggle; they wait at the finish line and they fuck the winners." And what that's saying is that women are not concerned with how a man becomes that winner, becomes that alpha, becomes whatever it is that makes him that high quality guy. She only cares that he is that high quality guy. So I was looking at this, and the guys in the Wall Street Playboys, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Wall Street Playboys guys. They're kind of like an entrepreneurs type thing, but occasionally they lean over into red pill stuff. And so they sort of reiterated this in a tweet that really took off. And I'll put it's actually my most recent post, but I'll put the link in the chat here in just a second. The Wall Street Playboys, their tweet was this: is that women are not investors when it comes to men. They are not going to waste time with someone going places. They are capitalists. They will find a guy who has already made it and jump on that bandwagon instead. And to me, that kind of reiterates what Rich was saying about how women wait at the finish line and they want to fuck the winners. And so I had to sort of step back from all this, and I kind of wish Donnie was here with us today, because we had a really good discussion about exactly this on his show last Thursday. And or actually a week ago Thursday, and I really thought that this deserved a little bit more discussion from the whole group here, because what I did in this article is I stepped back because I've reposted that several times, right? But I've also talked about how women do vet for men's potential because they have to do that. Now, this sort of threw me off a little bit because I've said in the past, and I'll quote myself here again, is this: hypergamy cannot afford to bet all of a woman's genetic legacy on a guy who has just potential. They want a proven commodity. So given the choice between a guy who has some sort of potential and given the choice with a guy who's already made it, he's a made man, women will lean towards the guy who is the proven commodity, because their hypergamy is looking for a definitive quality assurances, right? Like, this guy already has his shit together. This guy would already, not only is he hot and I want to have sex with him without a condom, I also want to settle down with this guy because he has parental investment potential. He's a guy that can take care of us financially, maybe physically, maybe he offers some sort of long-term security. And so, but I also had to sort of step back from that, because I also think that not every woman can do that. And particularly when women are in their early years, when they're in their party years and they're in their peak sexual market potential, they, and this is the Sandberg Plan of hypergamy, they want to have fun and have sex with the bad boys and the commitment phobic boys and the boys that are bad for them. And they're hoping that they, at the 0 hour, they can cash out of the casino before the party's over and take their winnings and go home. As far as, you know, the genetic lottery is concerned, they want to have their fun, and then they, at the end of the party, they want to go home with a guy who is going to be the best choice that they could have possibly made. And so in order to do that, women have to either adopt two different strategies. The one strategy is just what Rich was saying, is that they've got to find the guy who is the made man. And if they can't, or if that's not forthcoming, they still have to use what I call their hypergamous filter. And they have to figure out honest cues from a guy to see whether or not he is who he says he is. And I'll discuss this a little bit later on too, but I think that really, because we have empowered women with the power of the state, that they bend that power to give themselves insurances against bad hypergamous decisions, but also insurances for security from those guys in case they make a bad hypergamous decision. So then you see like abortion, then you see the divorce laws we have, you see the Duluth model of feminism, you see all of this other stuff that comes in there. But really what that's based on is a woman trying to determine honest signals from men. And that to me implies that women at some stage, in some way, shape, or form, have to be looking for a man's potential. They have to, because not all women can get the winner at the finish line. So they have to, that's, I mean, really, when you think about it, that's what social proof is about. And that's what pre-selection is about. It's the sisterhood saying, this guy over here, this guy right here, like when you roll in with a really hot chicks and you're using them as your like female wingmen, like we were talking about on Redline last night, when you do that, that's pre-selection. And that implies that there has to be a presumption that women are looking for a man's potential. So just to end this before I ask you guys what your take on all this is, I got into it with Jack Murphy and I got into it with Alexander Cortez, because they jump and they pile on here, and I'll just actually read what they said here, because they jumped into that conversation with the Wall Street Playboys here. And this is what Jack Murphy says. He says that this is literal trash tweeting. By this logic, no man would ever get married until he was 40 and a partner in the law firm. The new guy writing tweets for this account obviously never went to a prestige university where women purposely scoop up men with potential every year. That's what Jack said. Second of all, Alexander Cortez says this. He says, this is contrived bullshit. Women can readily recognize potential in men, and there are those who do all they can to encourage it. These kinds of statements are part and parcel of the bro-tarded emotional cripples and narcissists who are incapable of having a functional relationship. I think that's a little bit harsh, because I don't think that women can readily recognize potential in men. In fact, I think they're shit at it, to be honest with you. And there's reasons that they're shitty. Okay, I'm not saying that this is just, women are naturally shitty at determining honest cues from a man, but there's lots of factors that go into why they're really bad at it. But they are really bad at it, and I think what's interesting is like a lot. If you look at the rest of that tweet thread, lots of women throw their hat in the ring in this whole thing, and they say stuff like, "Well, I put all of my eggs in one basket, and my man is a success today." And you're only hearing from women who said that they saw potential in their man and their success stories. You don't hear from the women who made really bad hypergamous decisions with their potential, and it went to hell for it.
It sounds like an apex fallacy is what it sounds like. You're just hearing from the winners, the 1% who made it, like Mrs. Bezos, who made out with like 30 billion. Oh, she killed it. Well, how many millions of women failed?
So I think that there is a balance between the two of these things, and so I wanted to get you guys, interpretations of this, and that's why I made this sort of a contradictory type thing, because like I said, I don't believe that hypergamy can wait for a man's potential to just sort of develop, and women would much rather bet on a sure thing than they would on an unsure thing. But by the same token, I also have to say that women also look for potential. So, Ryan, what do you think about that whole thing?
I think this is exactly why I hate when guys think and read philosophy too goddamn much. Dude, like, here's the thing. I get it. Maybe you're going to find when people go to these like extreme examples, you're going to find one of two things. One, a guy has no idea what he's talking about, and he just read it in a book and took it for gospel. Or two, a guy isn't aware that his experience isn't all experience. Now, I'm not going to hand wave this away as like everybody's different, so nothing matters. Let's say Wall Street Playboy is, I know Jack thinks they're a fraud too, but let's assume for the sake of conversation that they're exactly like they say, New York millionaire Playboys. In New York City, what kind of girls do you think you're going to find?
Right.
You're going to find girls who want to find a made man. And take a guy in like my experience. I found tons of just girls that wanted fun. And that's the other thing they forget. And this is something I think it was you and Roosh talked about, where you talked about men are the gatekeepers of commitment and girls are the gatekeepers of sex.
Ooh, we need to talk about that too.
Yeah, well, you remember, I can't remember which one of you made the argument that technically women are the gatekeepers of both.
Yes,
because they just don't enter them.
Well, actually, you know what? Both of us did.
Yeah, women don't enter the relationship market until they want one. So it's just a monopoly for them, or is it? What do they call that? A competitive monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
So you got girls that are looking for potential, because you know what? Potential's hot. What is potential? Potential is a guy who's fun, who's hot, who's attractive, who's muscular. So of course, the kind of young girls that want to have sex when a guy's young, that's what they're looking for, because they're hardwired to see that. Same as like we look for potential in women when we're not looking for a relationship. That's big boobs, nice ass, pleasant demeanor, fairly slim. And when these women start hitting that phase where they want to settle down, and it's not Machiavellian long-term thinking, this is just short-term. I want this now, so I'm going to go get it. Mm-hmm. So they're going to hit 30. They want to settle down. Of course, they're not looking for potential now, because they wasted the potential the last 10 years. They were partying it up. Mm-hmm. And so the one takeaway I would take away from this is, from an action standpoint, don't go basing what you do on these goofy theories, which I mentioned goofy because they're not actionable. They're not falsifiable. You're going to find an example to bolster either side of it. Find me a 30-year-old girl who has baby rabies. You're going to find a girl who says, I don't have time for potential. Find me a 22-year-old that just wants to have fun in her college years. You're going to find a girl that's only looking for potential. Mm-hmm. Just break it down and see what can you get out of this. And if you want to have a fun sexual time, you tend to skew younger and you tend to skew more carefree, and you're going to maximize your potential. If you're looking to settle down and have a family, build those behaviors, those comfortable beta behaviors, the good job, the good career, get past potential.
See,
but yeah, the argument over like these are binary, this is one way or another, I find it horribly
that's
short-sighted.
In my article, I kind of got into that as well. I said, you know, one of the things that I understand Rich's perspective, and I do agree with it. I have to agree with it because I see it all the time. But here's the thing: is Rich is 45 years old, and he's meeting women who are looking for a guy who's already made. Right,
yeah,
because
and he's already
got it
made, so that's
where
he's already got it.
So those are the chicks that are, and I would say that like, and this is a lesson for guys who actually maximize their potential, like their sexual market value potential, whatever, their life potential when they get into their 30s and into their early 40s.
Yeah, guess who's hunting for you now?
Yes, who's hunting for you now? Exactly. That's maybe something that you need to look into this. But I also agree that women do look for potential. But here's maybe this is the real question we need to be asking: is why are they looking for potential, and why are they also looking for a guy who is a made guy? So, Steve, what do you got to say about this?
Well, I look at it as what I call hunt or be hunted. That's the bottom line.
Let me ask you a real quick question here, because I know that you're married. Now, when you met your wife, were you like on top of your game already? Were you already like doing what you're doing? I don't know what you do for, like, honest to God, I don't know what you do for a living, but were you like already on top of your game? Were you already like maximized or maximizing your potential, and she saw that in you? Or did she come on board with you when you didn't have jack shit and she stuck with you for the long haul?
No, I remember. I mean, my story. I'll tell you my quick story, but yeah, I started at 9. I met my mentor when I was 9, and started at 9. I've been. This is what I do for a living, but I've been doing this since I was young. I have had my mentor under me teaching me this. So when she met me, she met a real man. So it wasn't a come up or anything. So, but what I was saying was, at the end of the day, guys, it's either hunt or be hunted. And like you were saying, women cannot recognize potential guys, but they can recognize behaviors. And what a lot of guys out there don't understand is that as soon as you open your mouth, she knows your story because she has met you before. And a lot of y'all guys don't understand, not you guys, but the guys out there don't understand that she has met Rolo before. She has met Ryan before. She has met all of us before in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So what I always say is that, look, you can have the clothes, you can have the cars and all that other stuff, and that will get her attention. But what you say is going to either be the difference between attraction or not, because she's looking at certain behaviors and actions. It's thinking and behaving as one. And if you're not a guy, when you open your mouth and she doesn't see a guy that sees the big picture, that sets vision, that sees clear, concise messages, that doesn't have fear, that stands on his principles, that defends who he is as a man, automatically she'll switch to this thing as you got to beg and barter, where some guys she'll just want to sleep with because, again, goes back to nature. But just to sum it up real quick, as I'll pass to you, Rolo, is that at the end of the day, it's either hunt or be hunted. And what you say out of your mouth is going to tell your story faster than what you wear and what you drive.
I'll give you a really quick personal story. When I was in my 20s and I was in my rock star phase, playing in bands and such back in the late 90s, or excuse me, the late 80s and early 90s, I had a look that women wanted to get with, basically. My game consisted of going out and playing a gig on a Friday night and pretty much going home with whoever I wanted to go home with at that point. And I didn't have any money. We sure as hell weren't doing that gig for the money, because there was no money involved in it whatsoever. But there was a lot of poontang involved in that. And I had maybe a pickup truck and a couple of amps and a few instruments, and that was about my liquid assets in a nutshell. That was it. However, during that time, that was when I racked up my 40 plus notch count right there, because it was easy to do and because I had something that women wanted to be a part of. I was at least playing a character that they wanted to have validational sex with, to the point where I could have women coming over in the morning to have sex with me before they went off to work, because that's what they wanted to do. Now, I didn't have anything. I didn't have any prestige. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any I didn't have anything else going for me, but I found that women really wanted to still get with me. And I think maybe that's sort of a blessing and a curse, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Why would you want to build yourself into anything more than you already are if you're already being rewarded for what you are, right? Which is just having sex with girls because they think you're a hot musician in the LA club scene, right? Now that doesn't last forever. I can tell you from experience that doesn't happen, that, you know, it doesn't last forever. It'd be nice if it did, but you have to move on and you have to build yourself into something and you have to maximize your potential. And I will say this is that for all of the fun that I had during those years, it prevented me from developing myself into something better than I could have been, that I was then. You just don't see it. It's like the curse of the natural, right? It's the guy who is naturally gifted with a, you know, attractiveness or whatever, and he's constantly rewarded for that because he says the right thing or he looks the right way. What?
It sounds like those women were keeping you as breeding material, like locked in.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I was, you know, don't use the condom, right? But yeah, and that taught me a lesson later on in life when I was, you know, sort of sorting things out for the red pills, that women can separate the guy that they want to just have sex with and the guy that they want to spend their lives with. And if that's your goal, I think that should be the goal for men just in general. And I'll bounce off of what Steve just said here is I think that it's very important that you are the real deal, and that you are like you. One of the things about pickup artistry right now is that it has always been, well, you know, in the old days anyways, I can't say what it's really about right now, but in the old days it was teaching guys who didn't actually possess authentic skills or authentic value. They didn't have authentic value, but to teach them how to mimic the behaviors of having that authentic value. And that was meant to bypass women's hypergamous filters. And just me saying that women have a filtering system or an intuition, right? This is the female intuition, the mythological intuition that they just know that men are the way they are. That they can magically tell whether a guy is sending honest cues or he's not. That's why women hate the Manosphere so much. That's why women hate pickup artists so much, because it teaches those guys to successfully bypass that filter so that they can get to having sex with them. And then finding out later on that these guys are actually, you know, chumps. These guys actually don't have the value that they thought that they had on a Saturday night when they had 2 drinks in them. And they end up regretting that. And that, you know,
the equivalent of turning on the lights at 3:30 in the morning.
You know, oh my God, what have I done? Yeah. And that, okay. And so that's kind of what I wanted to get into. I'll pass it off to you here in a second, Anthony, but I wanted to also say that, like, I firmly disagree with what Alex said as far as he believes that women like readily have this ability to vet and to have some sort of magical feminine intuition about men because of things exactly like what I just said. Like PUA is one thing. I think that's one reason why guys who are really kind of up on their moral high horse really dislike pickup artists and players, because they believe in you know, aligning themselves with the feminine and identifying with the feminine. And in doing that, if they see a guy who is sending off false signals or isn't the guy that he says he actually is, but yet he's still successful, it kind of hurts that guy on a couple different levels. The first level is that, why isn't that girl seeing that this guy's full of shit? And that sort of is an education for him in women's nature. It's like, she can't actually see that. The pickup artist, you know, PUA isn't a thing because it didn't work. Like, people will say, well, you know, pickup artists, those guys are scumbags and da 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 da. I was like, okay, well, you wouldn't be saying that, or you wouldn't be concerned about that if it didn't actually work. If there wasn't actually something to it. you would have just, if you would just like, you'd be in that never, that doesn't work. That's bullshit, right? You wouldn't even
treat them like flat earthers.
Yeah, you wouldn't even think about it, right? But because you give it the attention you do, there has to be something to it. So if there's something to it, that says that women do not have this perfect understanding, this magical intuition about men and their prospects, and determining whether or not their signs are authentic or they are not authentic. So Anthony, what were you going to say?
Yeah, my primary thought throughout this whole conversation has been kind of meta, and that I wish Carl was here for this part.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot going on here, like kind of like Ryan said earlier, that your experience is not the total experience of what everyone's experiencing, obviously, right? But it's easy to forget that, and it's easy to overfocus on that. Like if you're in New York City, and 8 out of 10 women you see are looking for a 39-year-old lawyer who's worth fucking a couple $1 million or something. So I think what we're seeing with women and why it's complex, like you're putting it out, where like it's a conflict, right, or a contradiction. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's women in different parts of the country at different ages of their lives have different risk tolerances and strategies in different environments too, right? The environment's changing over time. Women used to not work. Men, in terms of like wages and labor and stuff, they made more money, and now they don't. Women are in the workplace, so yeah, I think women have different risk tolerances, and then the environment's changed too over time, and then that changes too, but depending on where they live and what's going on in the country and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's complex. Like I agree with what Rich Cooper said, that women, wait at the finish line and fuck the winners, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you have people like Hunter Drew and Elliot Hulse that marry their high school sweetheart, and it works out, and they have a bunch of kids and raise family and stuff.
Yeah, but see, I should just jump in here real quick. Like when I see guys like Elliot, or I see a guy like, okay, so Elliot married his high school girlfriend, and I'm fairly certain that Hunter married his girl pretty early in life.
It was his high school sweetheart too, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, you're right. I wonder if if we can actually say that was a woman seeing potential in that guy.
Maybe.
I think it's more, I'm stuck with this guy, or this is the best thing I have going, so I'm going to stick with it.
I mean, you were. I think you didn't even have your college degree yet when you met your wife, right?
Oh, yeah, and that's why that's why I wrote this, because I actually had a conversation with my wife about this, because my wife has told me several times. She said, I wanted to marry you because I saw potential in you.
She smelt it.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, and I'll just give you a really quick history of my own marriage with my wife. Is when I met her, we were dating non-exclusively. I was spinning plates when I met her. She was my favorite plate to spin, but we were both dating like adults. Okay, we weren't dating like serial monogamists. She was seeing other guys, I was seeing other girls at the same time, and we were just part of each other's roster, I guess. I think she had one other guy that she was seeing at the time, maybe two, but the guy that she was seeing was way richer than I was. And I won't tell you what she does, but she was a medical professional, and she was dating another medical professional, and that guy was easily earning $500,000 a year. So to have her choose me over this guy, and I say this because when we were dating non-exclusively, I was cool with that, because I just come out of a relationship with my BPD psychotic ex, and I wanted to get back into the game, and I was back into the game, so I was okay with that, and she was okay with that for a while. And then at one point she says, I don't like the idea of you having sex with other women, and I want to be exclusive with you. And so she prompted me to be exclusive. It wasn't like I was saying, hey baby, can we go steady? It wasn't like that kind of shit. It was like she asked me, which I thought was really great. And because what that said to me is that she saw that she wanted to be with me for the long term, right? She wanted to at least have some sort of long-term relationship with me. And I didn't talk about it till after we were married, but she said, I saw potential in you and I wanted to be with you. And I said, well, I didn't actually make any more money than these guys were. I was still the struggling, starving, poor ass musician back then. But she said, I knew you had potential, and I knew you could do at least as well, or if not better. And I said, okay, let's go. So that's why I said, I think that women do have a capacity to see potential, but I think that it's for it's contextual, right? It's like,
Well,
can the woman, can an individual woman, can all women have a readily available, can they all have this magical women's intuition? No, but they like to think that they do. They like to think that they have.
Well, I was thinking about this too. You're talking about the high school sweetheart thing.
Mhm.
Talk about putting women on a pedestal. 17-year-old girl. Oh yeah, she knows exactly what you're going to be 40 years from now.
Yeah.
Like the arrogance of that statement, the ego behind it. A guy at 17 can barely stop touching his dick, but a girl, oh no, she's good. She can predict the future. Like Nostra, dumbass.
Yeah.
What comes to mind for me too, hearing this is like when we've talked about this before, Roll, on the show with over the year now, that guys like Jordan Peterson and others, they'll look at female sexual strategy, hypergamy, and they oversimplify it immediately. They look at only the beta buck side, not the alpha fuck side. Well, that's one issue in itself, but I think what you're seeing with that is they're oversimplifying it constantly. Not just with alpha fucks and beta bucks, but all the way down the line. And when women like your wife, Rollo, make a choice like she did, right? And I think she was evaluating in her head, probably not consciously, but unconsciously.
Yeah, and remember, this is like when I'm like 27 years old. So 27, 28, somewhere around there.
Well, she was evaluating, I think, a whole series of aspects about you, not on a conscious level. She wasn't, bullet pointing this out, of course, on a fucking whiteboard. But I think that's what women are doing. And she, these other guys that are worth $500,000 or making $500,000 a year, you're a broke ass musician. Well, she chose you for a reason. You were higher value to her for whatever. And that maybe she was wishful thinking with the potential, or maybe she was right. I mean, how did that play out? Like, you're here now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and then we both had our own like romantic sexual pasts as well. So it's like I'd already gone through, gosh, she was actually my 4th long-term relationship, but there was a lot of girls in between all those relationships.
Well, she's also facing the pressure of aging though, and her fertility and youth.
Right. And then we're getting towards the end of her 20s, and yes, she was entering into her epiphany phase. So she was in fact looking for a guy who would have had, I'm sure she would have liked to have had a guy who was already a made guy, or what I call a turnkey man. Yeah. Like a guy she just jumps into his life and she's ready to go and she wants to be a part of that life because he's got everything set up. He's got his nest all in order and she just wants to jump in the nest. Right. I didn't have anything like that, but she could have very easily stuck with a guy who did, but but she didn't.
Maybe you were danger in the romantic choice for her.
Well, I think that might have had something to do with the fact that I was very in touch with I was just rediscovering my alpha nature because I'd been with the BPDX for so long that it sort of broke me down, and I was sort of relearning how to be who I was. And I don't give a fuck attitude. I had it back then, especially right at that moment. So, but I think I like what Ryan had to say there is like, that's interesting because that's part of what we call the feminine mystique. And people have asked me about the feminine mystique. The feminine mystique is that women are these unknowable creatures. Like they're these forces of nature. Like
Woman of Bullendorf, man.
Yeah, like they have some magical powers because they have a magic hoo-hoo, they can determine whether a guy is going to have potential or not because the goddess told them so, right? And it's complete bullshit. But the reason that is still a pervasive myth even today is because it pushes men out of ever knowing women. And if women are unknowable, they can have agency and power over those guys. So, and beta men, especially blue pill conditioned beta men, love this. They go, oh yeah, women I don't want to pick on Alex because I like him, but when you say a women have a ready ability to do something like that, it's like no, because when you get to a certain age and you see the women in your life making bad choices, that the feminine intuition is really just kind of a strategy for women, is to make you think that they have some magical way of doing it. And just what you were saying before is like, how does a 16-year-old girl have any idea about the potential of a guy? Now,
and the guy's ego thing on that too. Think of this, where the guy's like, well, if they're unknowable, then I'm clearly not useless.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. Come on.
Yes.
I can't believe we actually have to address this. I'm embarrassed for mankind. Like,
for even thinking about it. Yeah. Okay, but so here's the other thing. Oh, you know what? We're at 9:15 here on the West Coast. We need to do top of the hour stuff here. If you guys have not hit the like button yet, why have you not hit the like button? Please hit the like button. There are 477 people watching as I look at this, and there are only 91 likes. Come on, man. Also, actually, Anthony, you want to give the ad for 21 convention?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have 2 more events this year. We just wrapped up the first ever Fatherhood Patriarch event for 21 Con. That was exciting. A lot of you guys were there. Steve and Rollo. Ryan, where you at, bro? Where you at? I need a shit going on. It's all right.
What?
I'm fucking with you. So we have 2 remaining conventions this year. The first one coming up in just about 2 months is going to be in Warsaw, Poland. That is our 4th 21 Con in Europe. It's the first one in Poland and the first one in about 7 years. So it's been a while. That's July 18th to the 21st in Warsaw, Poland. Rollo's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Jack Donovan's going to be there. Ryan's going to be there. Steve the Dean's going to be there. Richard Grandin's going to be there. It's a huge fucking list. It keeps getting bigger and bigger. Jack Donovan even hooked me up with like the #1 survival prep guy in like Europe. He'll be speaking at the event. And
I was really impressed with the speaker list on that. I thought that was going to be a smaller convention, but that's like huge now.
It keeps getting bigger, yeah. Orlando's still a little bit bigger. I mean, that's hard to fucking compete with. But
that's the main event, though, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's coming up soon. You can get your tickets in the link below for you'll support Redman Group in the process. Also, you can just visit the website directly at the21convention.org. Also, if you are a Redman Group Patreon, there will be a special discount code given out to the RMG Patreons. So support Redman Group on Patreon at patreon.com/Redman Group. Also, our final event of the year, the main event, the world event, as I'm calling it, is going to be in Orlando, Florida, once again, our home city. That's going to be October 24th to the 27th, 2019, Orlando, Florida. That event's looking huge as well, obviously. The biggest speaking lineup I think we've ever had in our history. The tickets are actually outpacing 2018 for now, which is pretty insane. 2018 was huge. That was the biggest event ever last October. We had about 230 men show up. And so far, we're doing actually a little bit better than that year to year. So that's pretty nuts. So I'm guessing we'll have, right, if that picks up, we'll have between 250 and 350 men at that event, which is just fucking wild. And also, I want to mention, too, the workshop. So the events, the tickets are on sale. Right now, they're like almost $1,000 off. So the early bird sale is going on. But on top of that, we added the workshops into the Patriarch Edition. And those were a big highlight. And those are not filmed. So everyone that goes to the conventions used to getting the recordings later on 21 University and then YouTube, obviously. We put them out for free. But being at the event is really special. People value the workshop, not just the hallway conversations, but now the workshops and the dinners like a lot. And the workshops are really cool. And Rollo, I know you did one with Elliot Hulse that was a big success.
Yeah,
I heard you had a shit ton of fun doing it. It was packed out, standing room only. And Steve, you did one. I mean, there's a lot of them that went on, and they're really nice. They're really good addition. I called them the Workshop Wonderland for men.
I got in trouble on that one. Remember the women?
Yeah. The hotel was calling me up because Steve was like screaming and cursing and shit. But
did they really do that? That's funny.
Yeah, but I saw a lot of them myself. I saw at least about 5-10 minutes of each one. I saw Dr. Sean Smith and Ken Curry, another relationship counselor, a family marriage therapist, actually. They did one. Rich Graham, ex-Navy SEAL, did a self-defense workshop. And these are fucking awesome, and they're not recorded. They're a special exclusive benefit for attending the event, and they're not on video, they're not recorded long-term. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is I want the attendees to benefit exclusively for attending, but the other reason, I think Rollo, and I know Sean Smith ran into this too, is that when you're not recording something and there's not half a dozen cameras and fucking lights and couple hundred people, these workshops are small, they're 20, 30 people a pop. And they got very personal and very deep because there wasn't a recording going on. There wasn't something that's going to be seen by 200,000 people later on YouTube. And because of that, I think the conversations got a lot deeper, a lot more personal, a lot more serious. So that was a really cool addition. And we're going to have all these workshops going on as well at Poland and Orlando. So I'm excited to have those. There's going to be even more too than Patriarch. Patriarch, we had like a little bit. It was like a trial run to learn how to do it. But at Poland and Orlando, we're going to have them running probably all the time or a lot more often.
Hey, tell me about that soap you got there on the back of the thing. Will that add an extra 2 inches to my dick? Because I want to go from 8 to 10. Can you tell us a little bit about that soap?
After your penis, it actually amplifies your testosterone by 3,000%. So you will have like you'll have Elliot Hulse level testosterone immediately. Your dick gets huge. Women are drawn to you. I was banging this chick last night, and it wasn't the game, it wasn't the red pill, it was the soap. It's all about that alpha soap, baby.
So you get do you get a free Lamborghini with every purchase, or is that just like your initial membership?
That's only once a year they dish that out.
Oh, they give that out. Okay,
Special raffle, but you actually get that for free when you attend 21 Con.
There you go. So you can try it out. All right, and now I want to. Now we can move. Now we can move on. So I've got this part in the in my post here about choose wisely. It says so, and this is part of the. I'll just read it here. It says, do women actually care about the struggle? Do women ever appreciate the sacrifices a man must make to facilitate her own reality? Okay, I explored this in appreciation a while back, and I've always said that women cannot possibly, because they lack a male experience, they cannot possibly appreciate the sacrifices that men make for to facilitate their realities, basically. You know, like all of the things that go into making a man the best that he can be, or the best version of himself, is something that is impossible for them to really 100% appreciate. But one of the things that happened in this conversation here is, like I was saying before, is how women would pile on, and they would say, well, because of my magical feminine intuition, I saw potential in my man, and look at us, look at me. I'm an example of a successful woman who picked the right guy back in the day when he wasn't nothing, and now he's something, and she's happy to be part of his life, or part of his world, part of his frame, I assume. And she believes that she has some sort of appreciation of his struggle. So that was a question. The next question I want to run with you guys is, can women appreciate the struggle that a guy has to go through to get to where he's at? So Ryan, what do you think about that?
Who cares? And I mean this exactly as flippantly as it sounds. Mm-hmm. Let's use those examples used there. When the girl's telling you about, well, I'm an exception to your rule because I'm not an automaton, my man is something special and blah, blah, blah. Why are they saying that? They don't want to correct information. They don't want to prove you wrong. They want to bolster their status, saying, I'm not like these trashy women. I'm a great one. So if she wants to give you her finger painting, you put it on the fridge, you pat her on the head, tell her it's a wonderful finger painting and she's a very good artist, and just go about your day. And there's a little better point to this one too. If the question you got to ask yourself is, why do you care if women appreciate the struggle? Mm-hmm. Now here's the point. If you do care, at some level, you're seeking validation from girls. You want girls to tell you that you're special and put your finger painting on the fridge, which you absolutely should not do. So you need to assume they don't care. Even if they do, even if they're heartfelt, sincere, and they aren't saying it to bolster their status, you do yourself no favors by even wanting it. You do your own struggle. You know nobody gives a shit. And you move forward as if they don't give a shit. That's going to prevent you from bragging about it, from women using it to shame you into doing what they want to do by using that as their leverage point. And you're going to prevent a lot of disappointment when 99% of girls aren't going to give a shit anyway.
Mm-hmm. You basically just summed up my essay called Appreciation, which is
you
doesn't matter.
Finger paintings on the fridge.
Yeah, I should have.
Better with Ryan's statement of "attaboy, attaboy."
Mm-hmm. Hey,
yeah, attaboy. And I tell guys that too. I said it shouldn't make any difference whether or not she appreciates it or not. You just do you. And this is what, and I'll gosh, I got 2 points here that I want to make. But the one thing that I see from women who want to think that they actually do appreciate your struggle is they use that as a form of relational equity. And if you guys are familiar with my essay on relational equity, I approach this from the male side, because what guys do, particularly beta male guys, is they think that if they build themselves up enough, and if they go to enough little league games, and if they go to if they do enough homework with their kids, and if they're the perfect little house husband, and that earns them some sort of equity or relationship.
Wife of the Year award.
Yeah, exactly.
Attaboy.
Well, they do, and they pride themselves on being not like other guys, or in this case, not like other husbands. Like I'm involved with my kids, or they're doing basically what men should be doing in the first place. But they believe that earns them, like their investment into the relationship and the investment into the family earns them some sort of insurance policy against their wives' hypergamy. And I tell them, first of all, there's no such thing as relational equity, because you're going to do those things, because you do those things. It's not because you're trying to build the relationship up or you want some insurance against, her divorcing you because you were such a great husband. That's not going to matter if she sees you as a weak male, if she sees you as a subdominant male.
It's not she's the matter. She wants you to choke her and fucking.
Yeah, exactly. She's looking for a natural evolved masculine dominance, which I'm sure Steve can talk about here in just a moment. But when I hear women talking about the struggle and they will swear up and down, particularly the successful ones, but they will swear up and down that their intuition is accurate and that once they have made that hypergamous bet that they will be and it's paid off for them, that they appreciate all the things that their husband, their man had to go through to achieve, partner in the law firm or whatever, to become whoever he is.
It feels like someone played the lottery and they're like, oh, look how smart I am. I won.
But exactly. Well,
imagine if guys had that kind of self-confidence to move forward like that. That'd be great.
That's it. But here's the thing: that is a form, in my opinion, that is a form of relational equity, because what it is it's an insurance policy against him getting and reaching this really, lofty levels of his own potential, and then leaving her, and then getting the trophy wife. That's why women hate the idea of the trophy wife so much, because it goes against that idea that they do appreciate the struggle and that they do, put themselves into it, and they have earned some sort of relational equity, and maybe they got a little bit fat and now he is made partner in the law firm and he wants to get a divorce because he wants to get with a new 29-year-old hottie, right? So I think that women have this notion that they are entitled to relational equity if they're investing themselves in the potential of a man. And then, of course, because women love indignation, they love the idea that they have some sort of insurance against him going and getting with another chick because now he went from being this loser. He went from zero to hero, right? And so now that he's the hero, he's still sticking with her. And guys hit me up on this all the time. And I think you guys can probably find some other examples, but I'm sure you understand. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hugh Jackman and his wife. His wife is like 11 years older than he is. Yeah, I know. Everybody thinks he's gay, right? But his wife is like 10 or 11 years older. And I remember watching a 60-minute interview with Wolverine, right? And it kind of struck me. I'm like, this guy has been voted at 40 years old, was voted sexiest man alive by People magazine. And he could get with pretty much any chick he wants, but he decides that he wants to stay with the girl who was with him, who invested in him back before he wasn't Wolverine or he wasn't a big name.
Pierce Brosnan is another good example.
Yeah, too. And who else is currently Brosnan, is Jason Momoa. Jason Momoa can have any chick he wants. I feel pretty confident saying Jason Momoa can fuck your wife. Okay, he can have any woman that he wants, but he's with Lisa Bonet, who is at least 10 years his senior, maybe 12 years his senior, who put herself into, obviously she can see potential in this guy because the guy's jacked, right? So she's going to want to get with that. So there's that obviousness to it. But these guys feel like I at least from what I can tell, they feel like they owe some sense of loyalty to the woman that saw potential in them and stuck it out with them rather than follow their biological imperatives.
Yep.
So what do you guys think about that idea?
I want to add on here that God, what the hell was it going with it? It was based on what Ryan said.
Give him an attaboy.
No. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I think a lot of guys that find this idea and that they're going to struggle with it. I know when I found it, it was a red pill in itself. Like, if the red pill is a whole bottle of red pills, you got to take one at a time. This is one of them. And it was difficult to accept this, but I think now with a couple of years of history, having kind of dealt with it and been accepted it, or just come to terms with it, I think men, it's like projecting your values onto women. Like you want them to understand the struggle and to appreciate it and respect it because you do, because you're in the middle of it, busting your ass, fighting for what you believe in. At least like me and you guys, like you're doing what you want to do in your fucking life, and it's fucking hard. And then you succeed at it and you win and you kick ass. Women, of course, don't. We know that women don't do that. This isn't what they're built for. They're not. They don't become, right. They're born with their value.
They are.
Yeah. They are, and they preserve it. So it's kind of like what Ryan said a long time ago about Pat Stedman. Like Pat Stedman basically wants Pat Stedman with tits or something. It's like
Is that what you said, Ryan?
I think that's a pretty accurate paraphrasing. Probably a bigger rack on her because nobody wants an A cup.
Yeah, exactly.
More hair, maybe.
I really think that's why guys want that. Like Ryan's getting at it from a validation perspective, which I think is accurate, but it's also like they're failing to realize how different women are from men. Like there's a reason they don't respect the struggle and the fight, because they don't do that. They don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to them, and that's okay. The same way they do shit, you know, playing baking cookies or playing with dolls or putting fucking makeup on. Like it doesn't make sense to you. Like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
But it's fun, you know. Men and women are different.
One reason why I don't think that women appreciate the struggle. First of all, there's, along with the idea of female intuition, and I should add this: there's nothing more satisfying to a woman to believe that she's figured you out with her mythological feminine intuition. So go with that, use that. That's it. There's your game tip for the day. Use that. Go, oh yeah, you pat her on the head. You know, yeah, you figured me out, baby. But one of the things I think that women aren't good filters for potential is because women are empowered. They have this fempowerment narrative by feminism and by a feminine primary social order that has said, you know, you can have it all anyways. So it doesn't matter if you find a guy with potential when you're in your sexual market value peak years. There's going to be because of your mythological feminine intuition, you'll be able to find the right guy at the right time. And Pat Campbell and I were talking about this one. We were talking about this one article of this woman who had hit 35 years old, and she was just dumbfounded that she had not yet found Mr. Right, and she wanted to have babies, and she wanted to, you know, get into sort of this domestic lifestyle after having lived through her party years and then well into, you know, past her wall to 35 years old. And if you have a problem with me saying the wall, then you just need to go look at the statistics, because when a woman gets to be about every year after like 33 or 34 years old, statistically that woman is less and less and less likely to have children and to get married. So when I was talking with him about that, what I saw happening in that situation is that she believed that it was her due. She was entitled to a guy who was going to be the perfect husband, or the right guy for her at the right time. And that, I think, this fempowerment narrative, this building up of women's egos, or building up, like we always say that women's egos are super inflated by social media. Well, that's one aspect of it, but there's also, it's in just pop culture, it's in pop psychology and everything else. And when we say, or when we build women up by saying, oh yeah, you have this magical ability to just see potential in men, whether you're a 16-year-old girl or you're a 35-year-old woman, I think that is doing them a great disservice, because they don't have that. They need, I know we're going to do the 22 convention at some time. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about at the 22 convention, but this might be it, is that women need real down to earth information. They need their own red pill is what they need. They need something to teach them and show them that the narrative that they've been taught since they were 5 years old is a form of like blue pill conditioning for women, which is, don't worry about it. All you got to be is, you know, you build yourself up. It's men's fault. It's because men won't play along. Men are ruining feminism because they won't cooperate, but you just keep doing you, and you know, live out the role of a man, and then sooner or later, just like Sheryl Sandberg says, the equal partner will just magically appear, and he'll be ready to settle down with you, and then he'll be sexy at some point, because you won't have any other opportunities, and he'll have to be sexy to you, right? But I think that when we tell women that they have some sort of magical potential, that handicaps them, and you know, we talk about the struggle and understanding that. That's when women get into this self-serving idea that they have an appreciation for a man's struggle because they don't want to lose out on the investment. And that's what hypergamy is it's making a bet on a guy's future. And they don't want that bet to ruin their lives, because they're literally betting their lives on that guy being the good catch, the good guy that you know, I saw him back in the 20s, and, you know, we can write this revisionist history about your relationship with your woman, but women don't have that magical ability. That's if they did, they wouldn't need things like social proof. They wouldn't need things like pre-selection. They wouldn't need things like, you know, that aid them in believing that they have this, you know, if they had that magical ability. They don't. So ladies, if you're watching this, understand that I know you want to make good guesses, and I know you want to think, you know, what woman at 23 years old is a good judge of a man's character? I mean, much less like 16 years old. But so anyways, Steve, did you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Fucking Ryan and Anthony, y'all, they did a Rolo on me. Y'all took my fucking thunder. So I'm just gonna try to. She can't appreciate what she doesn't understand, guys. At the end of the day,
That is true.
Even your mother cannot understand what you are or can't appreciate what you are. And the only thing I say, man, is that, like I say, I've been with my woman for 20 years, and you know, I've been with these guys for a few months, and when they say they appreciate me, it means more to me because it's coming from men, coming from someone who understands, and we all have an understanding of what we went through and what we're going through to get where we're at. And that's why we have a great appreciation and respect for each other. But when your woman says it, she's just saying that shit to be saying that shit. She doesn't even know what the fuck she's thinking and talking. So out of the end, at the end of the day, man, she can never write this. Get your crayons out, write that shit down. She cannot appreciate what she doesn't understand, and she will never understand you guys. So if she's rubbing your shoulders and telling you, I understand, just let that shit go through one ear and out the other. But if you are around some men, like we were doing at the 21, having the cigars and drinks and have the camaraderie, that's where the appreciation comes at when you're around men.
Yeah. Yep, 100%.
All right, guys, let's move on to some of these super chats here. We got one really early on, and I forget your name, dude. I think it was Shark something or other. Okay, so here's this dude. He says, I'm 30 and spinning hard. I presume that means spinning plates hard, but eventually want a red pill marriage. Is locking down a woman in the epiphany phase, getting off the carousel, acceptable, or is pair bonding and marrying a 23-year-old better? I would need a lot more information to really, I mean, because you're 30 years old. First of all, why would you? I mean, eventually you say you want to do that, okay, but you're a little bit premature here. I think you probably need to start thinking about this when you're about 34 to 36 years old. But I'll let you guys chime in on here in just a second. But I think that, are you going to look for a woman who's in her epiphany phase? You could. Women are looking to settle down at that point there. But I think that if you found a woman between the ages of 29 and 31 years old, which is where I peg the epiphany phase, understand what you're getting into. And if you decide, hey, I want to go and swoop on a 23 or 24-year-old girl and see if I can lock her down, I think you're going to be dealing with a different set of variables right there. So what you need to know is what you're getting into in those. What do you guys have to say for this guy?
I'm wondering why, if he wants a family, why he's going to pick a girl that's in a rush. Like, why do you have to aim high? You can find younger ones. I settled down with mine. She was 23. She was 19 when I first plated her. Why would you pick a girl that's going to look at you as the plow horse or a means to an end? That's only setting yourself up for failure down the line. And then secondly, you shouldn't really be looking for a relationship anyway. I know if you want a family in that, you should be just constantly vetting. Every girl is a potential relationship. Let's assume he had 100 girls. Every one of those 100 girls had the opportunity to show him that she was worth sticking around longer than 8 hours. And none of them managed to, or he ignored the ones that did. It's all you got to do, Matt, is just give a girl a reason for you to bounce her ass. And if she doesn't give you one, then you emotionally invest further. And what you're going to find is, instead of looking to a girl as if she's her own, as a broodmare, same as she looks at a guy like a plowed horse, we don't want to look at a girl like she's a broodmare. You look at her like, does she add value to my life objectively? And you're not going to get that when you're looking for a wife, because then you're going to project all of what you want her to be onto her. And this is how guys get caught with those bipolar chicks. They put their heart on their sleeve, and what happens is the bipolar chick sees that heart on your sleeve, and she does exactly what you want her to do, to be exactly what you want her to be. And next thing you know, you're that guy who's divorced, can't see your kids, half your paycheck's gone, and she has her children, and she's the strong, independent, divorced whammon. So no, man, just vet religiously. And if not enough girls are giving you the opportunity to vet them, then you know that this pickup stuff was just right place, right time, and you weren't actually building your value. But either way, you're going to have stuff to work on at that point.
I co-sign what Ryan said, and I also wanted to add that for whatever reason, well, like Rollo mentioned, there's kind of a lot missing to this question. It's very simplistic. But also what's hasn't been mentioned yet is the age difference. This guy's 30, so he's looking at women in their late 20s versus like 23 years old. Well, from what I understand, and I believe the stats on it are pretty reliable, that what is like a 7-year age gap, a 5 to 7 year age gap?
5 to 7, yeah,
is the most reliable for long-term relationships. So that's a big factor going for younger women, independent of any other variable you're going to look at. And I'd say that's I know, for example, my aunt and uncle, they have the most successful relationship in my entire kind of extended family. They have 4 children. They're still together after like 50 years now or something. And they have like a 7-year gap. And I'm like, yeah. And I only figured this out, recently, or, this kind of stat. And I was like, oh yeah, duh. No wonder they're still together. But yeah, I think it's an important variable, and you shouldn't overlook that if you actually want to build a family. Also at 30, that's, my age too. That's probably a bit early, like Rolo's saying. It's not super early, at least in your 30s. But yeah, chill out, man. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, I just want to say, first off, you got to say, fuck them bitches, man. What the fuck do you want, okay? Stop looking for a goddamn wife. That's y'all's problem. Y'all sit around and put all your eggs, or you just tell these women, well, I'm looking for a relationship. I'm looking for a wife. You don't think she's not going to take that and conform to what you want her to be? So stop doing that. Know what you want. Like Ryan said, you got to vet these goddamn women. You can't sit there and expect her to be what you want her to be if you don't know who the fuck you are. So it's important that you work on you, know what you want first, know what you expect out of a relationship. Know what you expect out of a girlfriend. Know what you expect out of meeting somebody. Know what you expect out of living with somebody. And then if she can fit your narrative, keyword, your narrative, then you might consider it. But until then, don't look for a wife. Look to growing as a man. Rolo?
Sounds good. A lot of people ask me about, it's Sharkman, by the way. Thank you, Sharkman, for that $5. We'll get to that one too in just a second. No, I just want to say is like when I met my wife, I wasn't looking for a wife. I was 28 years old, and I was like 27 years old, and I was, I just come out of that BPD relationship, and I sure as hell didn't want to even get into a long-term relationship, but it just happened. It was like, I wasn't saying I'm looking for a wife, or I'm going to be vetting for a wife. I hate that question, because a lot of guys will ask me, well, what do I look for in a wife, and how do I figure out if she's going to be honest and she's going to not screw me and take me for a ride or divorce me later on. It's like, dude, I can't possibly tell you, because people become different people later on in life. Your personality is not static. So, but I tell guys all the time is I did exactly what Steve is saying right now. When I started having the idea that maybe I could marry this woman, I had to look at myself at the time. I said, is this the only way I really vetted my wife is like, can I be faithful to her? Because I know me, and I've seen me do it. And I know that if I don't want to put all of my effort and my time and my investment in a woman that I am eventually going to sleep around on. I didn't want to do that. Because then you've got all of this investment into a family and everything else, and you married someone, you got with someone who was not a good long-term choice for you. And I looked at that from a sexual perspective, because I wanted to be with somebody who I enjoyed having sex with, and that I could, and people say, well, that's horribly shallow. Yeah, it was. And I'm sorry to say, but that's just the way you have to look at things, because for guys, you're going to end up being, hopefully you're going to maximize your potential later on in life. And that's all about you. And it has to be what you want it to be, not what she wants it to be, not what anybody else is telling you to be, but what your maximized potential is going to be. And so that's on you. That's your solo thing. So when you make make this list of vetting prospects, according to what you think you're going to be in the future, I think that's like setting you up for disaster. So I looked at things in the short term, and then I looked at, well, she's good with kids. She was good with her niece, and I thought maybe she would be, you know, I liked the family that she was with, and you know, all of those regular things like, well, she has a good family. She's, you know, her dad was an alpha. You know, there's all kinds of things, but I wasn't thinking that at the time. I think maybe subconsciously I was, and it seemed like a good idea at the time. It was like, you know, she and I are a good match. We click, right? And so I thought, you know, and she was somebody that I could be faithful to, and that's just what I did. And I decided that right then and there, that's what I was going to do.
Fake alpha male Rolo.
Yeah, that's me, man. Super beta for actually looking, you know, what's funny to me is like, you're always going to have this, I don't want to say schism, but you're always going to have this division between guys who still want to in some way engage in a long-term relationship, and then the guys who are just like going to be completely against that, and anything against that is just sacrilege, and anything that's not for it, not for building it, is also sacrilege. So I end up like on the fence all the time, and I get shit thrown at me from either side of that fence.
Yeah, all angles. Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. I got another few here, guys. You're throwing some new ones at me here. Hang on.
Well, here, while you're looking at that one, you want me to throw out this one? I'll here about that girls' night out.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and read that one.
Yeah, so and I can only speak for myself, but I'm pretty sure everybody else is going to nod and clap like Oprah here. I can't tell my woman what to do. I can't tell her not to go on a girls' night out. So if she were to go on a girls' night out, I would just simply say that I'm not comfortable with it. I don't date girls who do that. And she can make whatever decision she wants. That's all you can do is enforce your boundaries. And here's the thing that scares a lot of guys, and that's why they acquiesce. If she chooses the girls' night out over you, that lets you know where you stand. You have to make some hard decisions.
Mm.
So my girl won't go to Cabo with her two slutty friends that are single. And she doesn't even think to do that. So if she did think about doing that and she thought that I'd be okay with it, then there's two glaring problems with my relationship that I need to address.
Right.
Yep.
But I'm not telling her what to do.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when we get this, like, how do you set, this is actually a boundaries question is what this is. And I have talked about this ad infinitum. If a woman is asking you to go to Vegas with her girlfriends for the girls' weekend or a bachelorette party, or if she's asking you if she's going on girls' night out and she wonders whether or not you have a problem with that, you have a problem with that, because she's not. If a woman has a genuine desire for you, her genuine desire is for you, not to go and sow her wild oats or look at what's on the menu. Basically, if a woman is that into you, you're not going to have that conversation. So this also gets back to the medium is the message, right? What is her medium telling you? What if she's asking you these questions? If she's saying, "I really want to go out with the girls because I would never do anything. I would never cheat on you, baby." You know what? That kind of stuff. Why is she trying to convince you otherwise?
Yeah, why did you even bring that up?
Why are you even in that conversation? Because she doesn't have genuine desire for you. Because her want to go do that is greater than her want to just be with you and go do whatever, go. What would she rather do? Would she rather go on a girls' night out with her girlfriends, or would she rather go on a nice date with you, even though like you guys have been together for 2 years or 3 years, right? Yeah. What's the choice? What is the medium?
And if they want to go out with their friends, there's non-slutty places girls can go. So you can already tell the Bible study what's going on. Bible study.
All right, go hit it. Go hit it, Steve. I know you want
to. What about Bible study in Vegas?
I see you chomping at the bit, Steve. Go.
At the motherfucking bit on this bullshit. Here's the shit that makes me, guys. This is what y'all see. You don't let your girl go on no vacation with her girlfriends, and you don't let them go to bachelorette parties. I used to have a bachelorette company, and I tell you all the dirty shit that they would do. Here, at the end of the day, is that it tells a lot about you. If your girl wants to go out with other women, like Rolo said, instead of spending time with you, it's because it's you. You're doing something that she finds unattractive, and she's looking to fill that gap, going on that vacation with her girls so she can spread her little pussy open for some cupcake out there so he can smash, and then she come back home to you. This is y'all's problem, man.
Right, I gotta ask this question really quick because you just got on a topic that I think I got on with Donovan or something. Aisha Curry saying that she wants more attention from men, but now that she's got 2 babies and she's married to like the apex alpha, right? What's your take on that?
I would, hey, as you get that cake ass shit, Rolo, I would have called my lawyer and got the divorce papers together, and her bags would have been packed right outside the goddamn house. Why? Because just like this question right here, you have got to learn how to have fucking boundaries. Before you meet these goddamn women, I say goddamn women because I'm around Anthony, he get me all excited and shit. But when you around these goddamn women, man, here's the thing, man. Y'all gotta have, like Rolo said and Ryan said, boundaries, goddammit. You gotta let these women know. But like Ryan said, I'm not gonna tell you anything, baby. Hey, baby, hey, girl. If you want to go with your girlfriends, go. If you want to do that, go. But you can't have me. You can suck my dick and fuck me whenever you want to, but there won't be a relationship because this ain't a relationship that you want to be in with. So all I want to say to you guys is stop that fucking cake ass shit. Don't tell her what to do. Just let her make the decision, but realize the decision she makes has a lot to do with who you are and where your relationship stands.
Oh, somebody just brought up Russell Wilson.
Oh my God. Lord,
No. I'm gonna mute you right now. All right. That was pretty good. I was just gonna say is that when you're talking about boundaries and setting boundaries with women only understand boundaries that actually have consequences to them. That's why I always say demonstrate, do not explicate. And that is never been more true than in setting boundaries for women. So just as Steve was here saying is an ultimatum. If you give a woman an ultimatum, it means that you are powerless. It means like, well, if you don't do this, bitch, I'm gonna don't say that. Don't never give women ultimatums. Just do what you're gonna do. Like if she says I'm gonna go off with the girls, say you go have a good time, and her shit's out on the fucking curb when she comes back in and at doing the walk of shame at 6 a.m. So there has to be consequences. It has to be a hot oven for which she can burn her hands on and learn from. So consequences, boundaries don't work unless there are consequences to those boundaries. And if she finds out that you won't enforce those consequences, all you're doing is confirming for her hindbrain, this guy is not the guy that I need to be with. Okay, let's grab this one here too. Let's see. This was the girls' night out one. Let's see. Many of you don't allow your woman to go on girls' night out. We just talked about that one. I had another one earlier on here. Let's see. It says, can you guys explain the differences between making your woman aware of boundaries as a man and the red pill jocks who say if she fucks up once, she's done? I think we just kind of covered that right now. So that's what I meant by demonstrate, do not explicate.
Well, I would say on that, I think what he's getting on there is just calibration.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guys that say next over everything, they're just taking a sledgehammer to everything when sometimes all you need is a gentle nudge. And that's all that is just calibrating your boundary enforcement to the situation.
I think that a lot of guys don't understand how to trigger a woman's imagination. They don't remember when everybody wants to give pickup artists all this grief about like neg hits, right? Well, what's a neg hit supposed to do? It's supposed to be a backhanded compliment, but at the end of the day, it's meant to intrigue her. It's meant to stimulate her imagination about you. Is this guy really sending me honest signals? If you can keep her in that state of wondering about you or wondering what you're all about or trying to figure you out, and she's using her own imagination, that can be used in your advantage. So when and people are going to ask me now, they're going to go, well, how do we do that? Well, it's based on the chick that you're dealing with and the incidents that you're also dealing with. So we were just talking about girls' night out. Maybe that means that you enforce your boundaries right then and there, and you go, okay, just like Steve was saying, you can have me or you can have girls' night out. And and then of course they'll say, well, you're insecure in your masculinity and any other nonsense you can come up with. Let's move. I had another really good one on here too. Where's this? Let's Sharkman's killing it with the $5 supers today. So Shark. I'm just going to go with Sharkman's real quick. It says, I won't get married until 35 to 40, but isn't there risk in marrying a 22-year-old on the carousel versus a 32-year-old in the epiphany phase?
She's on the carousel. Why are you marrying her?
If she's 32 years old and she's single, she's probably still on the carousel. So,
Yeah.
I would say, is there a risk in marrying a 22-year-old because she's still on the carousel? Well, you know, let's say this. A woman who's 22 years old has been on the carousel less than a woman who's 32 years old.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put.
So that's just simple math right there. That's just pragmatism. And then the other thing is you're also dealing with entitlement issues with a woman who is older, a woman who is past her epiphany phase. And at 32, I would say that's where she would be at. She is going to have entitlements that the 22-year-old is not going to have. So if you can lock down a girl who's 22 years old and she's quote unquote on the carousel, if you bring her off the carousel and you say, I want to marry you and I want to lock you down, good luck with that. But let's just say, for sake of argument, that you can do that. You're going to still be dealing with a lot less baggage and a lot less bullshit in the 10 years that it took for the woman to go from 22 to 32. So that's just deductive reasoning right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Many of you don't allow your woman to go on vacations. Vacations. Many of you don't allow your woman to go on girls only vacations. Other than cheating, are there any other reasons for this? What if she says you should trust her? What's the proper alpha mindset to have? I think we've probably already caught. Go ahead, Steve. I know you're chomping at that one.
Trust her.
Yeah.
Trust her.
Yeah. Go ahead and trust her. And let me tell you, while Anthony's got her face in the pillow and her ass up in the air,
5 minutes after meeting her on Tinder,
more wounds coming back. Go ahead and trust her. Just make sure when she comes back, take that little light and just scroll it up and down her body and see all the war wounds she's got. Trust her. Shit.
The dream swimmers.
Right. Oh, here's another good one. I don't think this was a super, but I thought this was a good topic because it was on topic. Thank you very much. 5 to 7 years difference makes sense, but haven't you found that women in early 20s on the carousel simply aren't ready to be married? Yes, that's what we've been saying. I wanted to sort of rewind a little bit here, though, because I wanted to talk about that 5 to 7 year difference. A lot of, like, for instance, what was it? Let me go call that up.
That's a pretty recent phenomenon in history, right?
Yeah, well, it
is.
Well, women have always looked for guys who are older than them to have as to settle down with, right? To have as a long-term partner. Now, I've been with older women who wanted to have sex with me because they liked my look and they liked my, the character I was playing. So yes, I have had sex with the MILFs and stuff back in the day, but that is only sex. That's not like settling down. That's not like, let's find somebody else. And I think that particularly the women who are playing with the cougar kind of scenario, when I talk to like Rich or I talk to Marco Russo, these guys who are in their mid 40s to mid 50s, and they're getting back into the sexual marketplace, they find that there's either the chicks that don't want to have anything to do with them because they're busy having sex with the college age kids, the guys who are more than happy to have sex with a cougar, or they're with a girl, or they're with a woman who has gone through that phase and now she wants to find the guy for the future. And usually that's like Rich or that's Marco or something like, these guys who are made men who are, who are attractive, who are good bets for their future. And they think that they're entitled to them just in the same way as when they were in their first epiphany phase, right? When they were 29 to 31 years old, thereabouts. And so women kind of go through a second epiphany phase when they go through that divorce set. So they'll start having sex and they want to have sex with the alphas because they want to make up for missing out on all of that. But then later on, they realize that they can't sustain that in the long term. So they look for a guy and then they go and they impose rules on those guys. They look for the guy who is their age and they'll shame those guys for wanting to go back and get with, some hot girl that was, 10, 12, 12 years their junior. And so they would very much like that, but they're always looking for, in the long term, women are always looking for a guy who is older than them and has more prestige or has more status or has more money than they do. And that will be the guy that is worthy of their attention, because that's the way hypergamy works. It's looking for the bigger and the better deal. Hypergamy does not find its own level. It always seeks above its own level. And that's why 5 to 7 years is kind of like the general idea, or statistically, it's the general idea that that's what women would prefer. But even if that was false, women still are looking for a guy who is above them in sexual market value, is above them in prestige value, is above them and older than them, because women on some level of consciousness understand that it takes longer for a man to mature into his full potential than it does for women. They know this. They pretend that they don't know this. They pretend that men should be attracted to them at any age because beauty is just this social construct, which is horseshit. And they know that it's horseshit, but they want to pretend like they have to pretend like it isn't, because they have no other chance to get with a guy who is looking for younger, hotter, tighter all the time. So men are always looking for something younger. Women are always looking for something older when it comes to settling down with that guy. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because Jack Murphy said this, he said, this is literal trash tweeting. By this logic, no man would ever get married until he was 40 and a partner in a law firm. Okay. That is extreme binary thinking right there. Okay, that's exaggerating the point to absurdity, because, and I think this is really kind of ironic for Jack, because I know his girlfriend is much younger than he is,
Yeah.
and he's living out exactly what he's coming out against here. And it's like, no, women look for a guy who is 5 to 7 years older than they are, wants a guy who is in a better position, because they want to invest in a man who is going to lift them up, not drag them back down. They don't want, when women cheat on guys, they're cheating on them because they want hot sex, because they're not getting that, or they're cheating on a guy who is in some way a better bet, a better hypergamous bet than the guy that she is with at that particular time. And a lot of guys don't want to hear that, and a lot of women don't want to hear that. But the articles and the studies I've been reading right now is that women cheat on men as much, if not more, than men do in this day and age. So that's something to think about. You guys got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I got a kind of a softball to throw at you, but I'm curious to see what you have to say. From a Jack Donovan / way of men perspective, it takes time to develop masculinity, period.
Right.
Carl's talked about this in his book too, Gendernomics. This isn't uncommon in the red pill to talk about, but I wonder if that's something that's overlooked in the age difference. Femininity has inherent more femininity, if that makes sense, when they're young. There's fertility in that, right, and beauty, because they're still fucking young. Duh, they're not older past the wall yet. But with men, I mean, they're older and they're more typically, if life hasn't beaten the shit out of you and you're fucking cucked, right? Like some guy dying slowly in a marriage, you become more masculine as you age. I'm a lot more masculine and mature at 30 than I was at 20, period. I've gone through a lot of shit in my life and succeeded and failed. And through that become, more of a man. So I just wonder if that's part of what we're seeing in the success in that age difference between the 5 and 7 year range. That's very successful.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people give me grief about my infamous sexual market value peak graphic. I peg women's peak at about 23 years old. I peg men's peak right around 36, 37, somewhere in there. And so what does this binary extreme, criticism of that? Well, I don't see 23-year-olds going out with 36-year-old guys. That's not what that means. Those are on two different scales for different prerequisites. What makes a woman attractive and at her sexual market value peak is a different set of qualities than what makes a man more potentially attractive at later stages in his life. And it takes longer for a man to achieve those things. I wrote about this in my Mature Men. I've got a post. I think I put it in the first book. It's called The Mature Man. And women, that's why amuse mastery and cocky and funny and command presence and all of these pickup artist techniques work, is because, and they work better for older guys, because women expect those men to have a depth of maturity. They expect him to be a better judge of character. They expect him to be a man, right? They expect him to have a set of qualities that older men have. So when you use a muse mastery, it doesn't come off as like an insult to a woman from a guy who is older than from, like, say, a guy who is younger, because that just sounds like a guy is cocky and arrogant and full of himself. Whereas if a guy is 45 years old and he's running a muse mastery, that works for him, because she has this, if she's younger, she has this idea that an older man should have that knowledge. And that's the preconception, is that older men should have arrived at their potential. They should have had more experiences. Alpha men have more sexual experiences than beta men. Okay.
What I'm getting at too is that just femininity seeks out masculinity, and age typically brings that in men in some form, right? It could bring, you know, the opposite too, but
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And you have to mature into your masculinity. I mean, it's been part of human culture for forever. That's why we used to have rites of passage. Right? You had to get to a certain age before you could be considered a man. You had to go through your bar mitzvah. You had to go through. The tribe had to, or the tribal men had to take you outside the camp, and you had to find your way back to the camp. Right? Those kinds of trials of manhood. That's why we have those things, but we don't have those anymore. And I think maybe that's what's confusing a lot of people. I got one more here from Ibo. He says, my mom's friend always want to fix me up. I always tell them to give me the number of those girls to contact me. Nothing ever happens. Why do these girls never contact me? Why do my mom's friends do that?
God.
Well, you want to take that? I'll jump in. I'll go last. You guys go get it.
Yeah, let me say on that. What does your mom's friends do your laundry? Does your mom's friends pick you up and drive you around for your job interviews and cut your hair? And do they do your mom's friends cut your meat when they put it on the table? This is why they don't talk to you. And again, I say this with love, but what I'm saying this to you is that you are the problem, man. What man allows his mother's friends to even hook him up with somebody? Now, there are circumstances where they're like, oh, you're just a fine young man, and I've got someone I'd like you to meet. That's one thing. But if you're basing your what y'all call spinning plates on your mother's friends, then you're the problem, man. No woman wants to be hooked up with someone her mother brings to her, knowing that her mother's trying to keep her away from the Rolos of the world and the Ryans of the world and the Anthonys of the world. They don't want them to be with those guys. So what they'll do is, I got a nice, fine young man who stays at home probably with his mom, and he doesn't know anything about women, so he'll be the perfect guy for you. Don't do it. You're the problem, man. Tell your mom and her friends to leave you the fuck alone. Get your ass out the basement and go fucking talk to women. Guys?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the whole, I agree with Steve, man. This is the completely wrong angle to take with it. If he actually game his mom's friends and he doesn't need to bang them, obviously. Like, this is totally, you don't need to do that. But if you got them laughing and excited and remembering what it's like to talk to an alpha young man, they're going to like you, and they're going to throw a woman at you a lot more easily if you're like a shark. If you're a shark that doesn't bite them, but you're going to bite, their niece who's like 25 or some shit. So if you put that out and you game them in a non-sexual way, but like very socially, that's going to work in your favor. I'd say go for it, that angle. But what you're doing now is horrible. I mean, it's just like Steve's making fun of you. You should like, this is totally fucking retarded.
Yeah.
Are they cutting your steak for you too, like little bitch?
Right.
The fact that you're thinking about it this much kind of bothers me too. Like, look, girls love playing matchmaker, and it's not for your benefit. So get that thought out of your head right now. They're not trying to help you. What they want to be is that one in their social circle that says, do you see that happy couple there? I hook them up. I'm great. And if you guys don't work out, it's nothing to do with her. It's like, oh, that's just a shame those two didn't work out.
Yeah.
So she just wants credit for some social crap. So she's using you as a cudgel to beat your mom across the head, showing how she's a better woman than her.
That's really a good, that's almost dovetails into our topic today, is that she's trying to, if she can't figure out what her feminine intuition is telling her about the potential of the men that is in her life, what does it tell you that she can actually see your own potential for other women that she knows? When women want to play matchmaker, understand that is an extension of pre-selection. So what your mom's friends are trying to do is they're trying to give you an endorsement for chicks that they know who aren't you know, aren't going to be a good match for you, or maybe they will, and maybe they won't, but she doesn't know that. She's just trying to do that because she's trying to set you up as a pre-selected guy for women who haven't been able to lock down a guy just yet because they can't find the right guy. I mean, that's I don't know how old this guy is, but like that's when women play matchmaker, it's a form of pre-selection. I got one last one here and then we'll wrap up. Zenith says, after demonstrating boundaries for varying levels of disrespect, when is it okay to take a woman back? I know not every slight is irreparable. When is it okay to take a woman back?
Well, if you're at the point where you're getting rid of her, that's the boundary. So you don't take her back. That's the whole point of this thing. And you know what? If you wanted to take her back, you wouldn't have enforced your boundary so hard to begin with.
Right. I can hear Ryan,
pick one way or the other.
I hear Ryan's like frustration with like having to repeat himself a million times.
Dude, I love this. I can tell you to put finger paintings on the fridge all day. I don't care.
It's true.
Give me $100 an hour for this advice. I'll phone it in.
Well, it's like I have, and that's one of the iron rules of Tomasi, which is never root through garbage once you've taken the can to the curb. Okay, because there's a reason why there's been a split between the two of you. And that's always going to exist. So if you think that you're going to get, because I know guys get back with their girlfriends and they live happily ever after, right? But you have to understand that those guys have to find some way to sublimate the understanding that they broke up with that girl and maybe they went on a break, right? You're never on a break, guys. Let's just clear the air here. There's no such thing as a break. She wants to fuck other guys that aren't you and maybe come back to you later. She wants to have a get out of cheating free card is all you're really getting. So taking a woman back is, here's the thing is I get this question every once in a while from guys. And I think we were talking about this yesterday on Redline, is like most women are the ones who initiate the breakup. It's rarely ever is it ever a guy because of the selection dynamic. When women are younger, they are the prime sexual selectors. When men are older, they become the prime sexual selectors. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. We didn't actually talk about this yesterday on Redline, but it was I think there's this mythology that says that women are the gatekeepers of sex and men are the gatekeepers of commitment. That's only true at certain stages of your development. Women being the gatekeepers of sex, yes, that's true. But up until the point where they're no longer arousing, yes, they're the gatekeepers of sex. Until they get to a point where they can no longer be a sexual commodity, then they kind of lose that ability by order of degree. I'm not saying a fat chick can't go down to the bar at 2 a.m. and, fuck some drunk guy. Okay. That happens. But by and large, when it comes to the kind of guys she wants to get with, are they gatekeepers of sex? Yeah, by varying degrees. If a woman is in her sexual market value peak, she definitely is. When she gets to be 10, 12 years past that, probably not as much as she used to be. Are men the gatekeepers of commitment? Yes, we are, but you're not going to be the kind of guy that can dictate who he wants to commit to and who he doesn't until you unplug, until you are free from your blue pill conditioning and you're red pill aware. Because if you are not, you will just simply, you're not in control of your commitment at that point. The woman is going to be in control of that. Because if you are, like, we've just had like several different guys saying, I want to get married when I'm 30, or I want to get married when I'm 35. Well, how should I vet? You're necessitous. You're necessitous to wanting to have that kind of lifestyle, and you don't know how to get to it. And that means you are not in control of your commitment. The woman who you want to get, your magical unicorn that you think is out there, is in control of your commitment. So yes, is it possible for men to be the gatekeepers of commitment? Yes, but you've got to be in a position where you are the prime sexual selector, and that doesn't happen until you're 34, 35, 36 years old, and you're hitting your stride and you're reaching your potential. Then yes, you can be the gatekeeper of your own commitment, and knowing what it is that you will satisfy you and will not, if you have learned enough and you've been red pill enough and you understand that what the game that you're involved in. But that's why I don't see like the gatekeeper quote as being like accurate all the time. I think it's sort of like it's subjective to wherever the chick is and whoever the guy is. All right, I got one last one here. It says this is from Vinicius, I guess. Why do girls say they like younger girls, but always add but complaint about the lack of maturity? Do you think maturity is more powerful than looking young?
He corrected himself right after that. He meant guys.
Guys, okay.
Yeah, why do girls like younger guys?
Why do girls like younger guys? Well, because they're looking for that side of hypergamy. They're looking for the alpha fuck side of hypergamy. So if you
stop listening to what they say. Have you heard of this? Women lie. Have you heard of this before?
One other thing that one of the essays that really pisses me off that it got erased up from Chateau Hartiste is he had one that was was women's standards crumble under like certain stresses, right? So you have a woman who has like her Plenty of Fish or OkCupid dating profile, and you have to hit all of these bullet points, otherwise she doesn't want to consider you for anything. And you'll have a woman who will say something like that, and then 2 weeks later she's with a guy who in no way hits all of those things because he hit other triggers on her that are more important, and there are higher priorities to her than the ones that she puts. A woman's priorities for a guy that she wants to fuck are different than the priorities for the guy she wants to get with, that she wants to have a relationship with. And again, this goes back to like my poor girl saying, would they have sex on the first night with the guy who's alpha? Yes, they would. But if the guy had boyfriend potential, they would make him jump through all these hoops, and they would make him wait for sex because they didn't want him to think she's easy. So the sex that she would have willingly given to an alpha guy without a condom would have to, the beta guy would have to jump through hoops to get to that, or at least he believes he would. So you remember, women make rules for betas and they break rules for alphas. So if the guy is younger and he has that look to him, it's not because she wants to get with a guy who is younger than she is. She wants to have sex with that guy and have a good time with that guy and have validational sex with that guy. But she's not going to, that's not the guy that she would prefer to settle down with and have a life with, because his potential. Think about it this way. If you've got an older woman and then you've got a younger man, that older woman, her time's run out, right? I mean, she's already, if she hasn't reached it yet, she's fast approaching her expiration date. So if she's looking back at a younger guy, she's taking a really, really big risk, because she knows, because remember, women's sexual market value is perishable. It decays over time. So if she's trying to make a long-term bet and the clock keeps running down for her, and she's having fewer and fewer and fewer guys that want to come around and that would be good long-term bets for her, is she going to go with a guy who's this completely, totally unproven commodity? No, she's not going to do that. She'll have sex with that guy. I know, because I was the guy she was having sex with back when I was 22 years old. But she's not. They sure as shit weren't going to marry me. They sure as hell weren't going to, they weren't going to bet on my potential. And I had some chicks who were like, in their 30s who I was having sex with when I was in my 20s, and they weren't going. I was just fun. I was boy toy for them, right? I wanted to have sex. They wanted to have sex, and that's where we went with it. But there was no way I was on the list of guys who they were going to settle down with, because I had no real prospects going for me at that time, other than the looks that I was doing and where I was, I thought I was heading in life. So as women's sexual market value decays, they can take less and less risks with their future. So what else do we got here?
We had one more super chat come in.
Did we? Yeah, okay. Sharkman, again, thank you for all of these. I switched to direct day game a year ago, and I can't believe how well it works. No more clubs, no more Tinder. Why does day game work so damn well? Anybody?
Oh boy,
I got a little bit.
Oh, you go ahead, Anthony. I go after you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, day game is ballsy, man, especially today. When you're in this is old school stuff too in pickup community, but when you're out in a nightclub or a loud bar, everybody's drinking and shit, you're in an environment that is set up for one night stands and shit to happen. They don't happen as often as people think, but they definitely happen. On Tinder, obviously too, you're in an environment where it's already happening. So the minute you do something like day game at a grocery store or at the beach or like walking on the fucking street, it's very unusual. So you immediately stand out in terms of your actions. And I think that's one of the main reasons why it works pretty damn well.
A lot of guys are very intimidated by doing day game. That is tough shit, because you are in an environment that is not a sexual zone. That's what a club is a sexual zone. Women are there to look for guys, and guys are there to look for women.
And you're not getting permission to suck a dick.
Yeah,
exactly. And by you doing that, you're initiating that interaction and you're initiating that shift. You're making something that's not sexual, broad daylight, walking on the fucking street at a stoplight or something. You're turning that into a sexual interaction or the beginning phase of it, where you can hook up. I've seen guys in the street in London do this on video. Like they pull a chick right off the street to their fucking apartment.
Yeah, you better be
multiple PUA guys.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, I think one of the things about pickup artists is that they just break the hearts of so many beta guys to like see something like that happen. Like here, I can go on the street. I'm not any better looking than you, but I've got such game that I can pull a chick off the street and we can go have a quote unquote insta date, Day game is ballsy. So you have to be, especially in the Me Too era, you've got to be on top of your game. And it's all direct game. And if you want to learn about that, go check out Alan Roger Curry's mode 1 about direct, being as direct as possible. I think it's ballsy. I think it's risk taking, and a lot of guys don't do it. But I think that the rewards can be a whole lot better if you get good at it.
Another thing too is that like he's bitching about Tinder. I have success on Tinder, but I am who I am, right? I'm not as hot as like AJ Cortez, but I'm close enough, right, in that direction. I can pull some shit off. Plus, I have my mechanisms and these formulas I do, right? My little method of I want to come on your face and stuff. But I will say that by approaching women in person, you are bypassing their inability to judge how physically attractive they are on Tinder, or how physically attractive they are to you on Tinder. Women are horrible at judging what they're attracted to in real life based off of a picture. They can do it to some degree if the guy is like super, top 10%. But outside of that, they might fuck the next 20% of the population, but they're too fucking arrogant and entitled on Tinder to do that. But in person, they hear your voice, they see the way you walk, they see the way you carry yourself. Whether or not they know it, they're watching how fast you're moving your hands, with the way you talk, the way your posture, all these things. There's 1,000 different things they see in person that they don't see on the internet. And when you approach them in real life and you make that interaction even a little bit sexual and you have the balls to do that, they're getting a lot more data from you. They're getting more masculinity thrown in their face, basically. So that's I think that's why he's having success with it.
Women want to be approached. Okay, they want to be approached by a guy that they're attracted to, and they want to be approached by a guy who knows what he's doing. Like they don't want creepy guys to to approach them, but they want to be approached. And you're seeing this less and less and less. I talk to my daughter all the time. She says, "Where are the guys?" My daughter is a very attractive young woman, but guys don't have the balls to approach her. They don't have the balls to say, "Hey, I'd like to take you out on a date," or something like that. These guys are just simply not initiating, and that's why I think that the idea of day game to this generation of young men is like an alien thought. Like they would never even dream of doing something like this, because the way that they think that they meet up and they hook up with a girl is to go on Tinder or to go to the clubs or to go, if at all, or meet somebody through their social circle, or have their mom's friends introduce them to their other girlfriends, So, that kind of stuff. I think we should also clarify that Tinder is a sexual zone, that women go on Tinder to get laid. Guys go on Tinder to get laid.
Yeah, I just want to say this real quick. The thing is, again, here's a situation. You're running away from your weekend, and you're making excuses. I'm glad that your day game is working for you, but a lion doesn't separate the animals, saying, well, the zebra to the ox. He just goes after what he wants to go after. And this is the problem with a lot of you young men out there, is that, and I'll use Anthony as an example. Anthony can pull him on Tinder. Anthony can pull them at the club. Anthony, Rolo, and Ryan, all of them, they can do all these things all the time. It's not, and they don't separate.
Well, not all the time.
Well, I would say all the time. I'm saying no. I'm not going to generalize. Well, most of the time. Most of the time. But what I'm saying to you is this: is that you guys are running away from the fact that it's all. To me, it's all the same, because when I was growing up, we didn't have computers and stuff. So if you wanted to talk to a girl, you had to get up off your ass and talk to her. And now it seems what we talk about, my circle of guys, is how easy it is for you guys. How lucky y'all are in a time right now where you have access to women all over the world who are connected in any way, whether it's Tinder, the club, or outside your door, and yet y'all just sit around and make excuses why you don't do things. You got to go outside your house and start talking to women. But it goes back, as I always say, it goes back to you and how you feel about yourself. You got to start working more on you, and then you can go out and get it all instead of just corner yourself.
Excellent. We got one last one here from Porter Hodges. Thank you for that $25 super. There's nothing attached to it. We really appreciate your investment. Somebody's saying that YOLO had some super chat. I'm not seeing a super chat from him. And
yeah, I'm looking for it. I can't find it.
Yeah, I can't see it either. So anyways, we should probably wrap up here. Anyways, we've been going at this for a bit. So let's just run around the table here real quick. Tell us what you're doing, and we'll get out of here. Go, Ryan.
Just had a new video out. We're doing so a lot of guys don't know, Thursdays I alternate between a Red Pilled Coffee episode and a cooking video. Both the times they offer some actionable advice, so stick to those, because I know a lot of guys can't handle the 90-minute podcast. Just was on this morning with Rule Zero Dad on Red Morning. We actually went through a lot of mindset stuff. We try to keep it as practical as possible. It's all about finger paintings on the fridge and pats on the head. Not too much theory, I guess the best way to put it. Then as far as things on the go, the newsletter is up and running, back in action. I've already had the first 6 emails back to what I call the Fuck Files episodes, where I talk about all of the crap that I screwed up and succeeded on when I was doing pickup. Tons of lessons in there for you, one way or the other. I started it off when I met a girl that I had had sex with but didn't even remember her. And it kind of gave me a little existential crisis. So that's probably one of the more embarrassing parts about my life. But sign up to that. It's ryanstone.com/newsletter. It's free. And then beyond that, the guys in the newsletter, I have a couple surprises for you in there. Some discounts and deals on the various things that are around in the Manosphere if you're interested in them. If not, feel free to keep reading. And for my speech coming up in Poland, I'm still reaching out to those guys because those are my best supporters on the kind of topics that you want to hear me go over there. So I still have to work on the speech that I'm going to give. And so I'm going to take a little bit of feedback from you guys there. So that's the way to get a hold of me on that one. I think that's it for now. Yeah. New bookshelf's done. All my little symbols of masculinity are there.
Looks good.
You can see a philosophy book. So I'm very, very smart. My pipe has a sultan's head on it. So that's doubly smart. And there's coffee there, which keeps me awake. So triply smart. I'll brain the fuck out of you guys. And that's all I got.
This looks like a real man.
A real man.
Okay, Anthony, what do you got going on, Anthony?
So we have a lot of new content coming out on 21 Studios at youtube.com/21. I'm actually doing a whole interview series with every single speaker for Poland. So I got to do, Ryan and Rollo here soon, as well as Steve. So I've already done Richard Grannon and Richard Nikolai. Both of those are doing really well, especially Richard Grannon's interview. It's almost 2 hours long on psychology, toxic relationships, the red pill, dick pics, all those fun things. That was fun. We're also just put out last night. It's doing really well, too. We put out the talk from one of the talks from 2017 at 21Con. And it was the talk your grandfather never gave you from Jim Flanagan. Very old school masculinity, very much like Pat Campbell, as I see him. He's even older than Pat Campbell. I think Jim Flanagan's like 70 years old or something. That talk's already done over 5,000 views in about 12 hours, not even, something like that. So that's kicking ass. And we're going to put out a lot of new content. I think today actually is going to be the first day. We're going to now publish the first 2019 21 report from the Patriarch edition of the convention. It'll probably be Hunter Drew or Elliot Hulse, and they'll be going out later today on the channel itself for free. On top of that, I did want to mention that the ticket prices for 21Con, none of those are designed to keep men out of the convention. They're primarily designed to fund the convention in the best way possible, make it survive and thrive and kick ass and grow over time. So I do want to mention that we have special discounts on top of the public early bird sale. We do have special discounts that are now permanent for military, law enforcement, firefighters, and young men. That means 25 or under when you buy the ticket. You can get 25% off. You just have to email us for the coupon code, and you can use that and get a discount on the event if you fit one of those criteria. Also, for all Polish men, if you are born in Poland, native Poland, Pole, you can also get a big discount on the event. We're coming to your home country. We definitely want you there, and fully respect I'm coming into your house, and I'm not Polish. Also, if you are super broke and you really want to attend a convention and you can barely afford the flight and hotel and all that, which we can't do anything about, obviously, we do accept volunteers. Volunteer alumni, so they volunteered previously, have priority. But in addition to that, we always take on fresh volunteers for each event. So if you want to volunteer, just email tickets@the21convention.com or shoot me a thing on Twitter or anywhere really, on Instagram, and I'll find it. And if you're a good fit for volunteering, we're happy to have you out. By volunteering for the convention, you can get in almost free to the event, and just got to work your ass off in exchange for the big cut on the ticket. Also, I want to announce that from now on, this is going out to the alumni and stuff too, all ticket holders for the 21 convention, all events, can bring a friend half off. And if you're an alumni attendee, you can bring 2 friends half off. But regardless, when you buy a ticket to the event now, you got a special code by email, and you can bring a friend to that event you're going to at half off the public sale price. So cut it right in half. Pretty dope. And that's a new benefit for attending the event, a new feature we have added to the event.
Cool.
And that's all I got.
Cool. What you got going on there, Steve?
All right. First, I want to say it was a pleasure to be on with y'all guys. For all y'all out there, I just want to let y'all know tonight, I'm more than likely I might do a show tonight, a hit and run show. But that depends if I'm gonna go see John Wick 3 for like the 4th time. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that. But if I don't, I'm gonna do it on Sunday. Also, guys, I'm starting to do a new thing when I'm driving around. I got a Riding with the Dean. I do it live and unscripted. So, guys, make sure y'all check that out. And we still have our Tuesday shows with email show with Lucario. Then I go on with Rosebud the Pimp, and then we do a show.
Hello.
I think. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Yeah, call into the show and let us know what those messages are, and I'm gonna do everything I can to get you to smash that night or at least that week. So do that. But anyway, I just want to say again, guys, I appreciate being on this thing, man. I appreciate y'all.
You got it. All right. What am I doing? I'm doing Red Pill 101 tomorrow with Pat Campbell, not Pat Stedman. And I'm not sure what our topic is going to be just yet. We're still kind of bouncing. We've got several ideas on the table right now, and I don't know which one we're going to settle on. Pat just had his father pass away just yesterday. So he is going to be on with me. He said he wanted to do it, and he wanted to just stay busy. So if you guys have thoughts and prayers, please, hit up Pat and let him know you're thinking about him on Twitter or wherever. And also on Monday, I'm going to be filling in for Dr. Sean Smith on Rich Cooper's show before the train wreck. So I'll be on that at I believe it's 8 p.m. Yeah, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I'll be joining him for that. I don't know what the topic is. It's kind of like Redline, it's like you kind of come up with a topic, but then everybody just sort of throws it out the window once you're in the, you're taking calls. So I'll be doing that soon. I am going to do an AMA this week. I'm not really sure what day it's going to be. It's probably looking like it's going to be Wednesday at this stage. I'm working on another post. I'm still working on book 4. That is, I'm deep in the weeds in book 4, so bear with me on that one. I've been made aware of a couple of books that I kind of want to read through before I go crazy with this thing. And then we got one last $10 from James R here. It says, thoughts with you guys, longtime listener, just showing some love. Thank you very much. No homo. Anyways, this has been a great show, guys. Also check out myself and Pat Campbell on Fridays on his terrestrial radio show, which is AM 1170 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Just check our Twitter feeds for times and links for that one. All right, guys, thanks a lot for this one. It's been a unqualified pleasure, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you.